welcome to the Saladcast on Saturday, March the 24th. Something like that, 2012. I'm your host, Dan Train. Joining me today, Robert Kemp.
Hello.
And Zachary Burgess.
Woo.
Woo.
We are team enthusiasm.
That was like Gladys's Wii, kind of, in the Portal 1. Well, ending glitches out at the end. It's like, woo.
Kind of, sort of.
Yeah, it's kind of slightly glitched. So yes, back in the Switch.
Back in the Switch.
After our last Camcast.
Camcast, we're now in the Ipcast.
Camcast. You'd have cameras. That's what that means.
True.
No, it was by the River Cam.
Bridgecast.
Bridgecast.
Or Camecast.
CB
Cam.
cast.
CB, yeah. Rather, this is the IP cast. The Saladcast. About video games.
Maybe.
Maybe. Why? What do you want to talk about today?
Well, I suspect there maybe need to talk about other things.
No.
Depending on how much Skyrim has been played.
Skyrim?
I haven't played it, so there you go.
Neither have I. So.
Hooray!
We're fucked.
Why? Because Skyrim is the font of pointless crap to talk about.
Basically.
It does take up like an hour of every cast since it comes out. Since it came out.
Yeah.
There was that patch, the 1.5.
Alright.
I'm
totally going back into that.
I'm sure that'll be extremely annoying, because it's like kill cams for ranged weapons and
well, yeah.
Oh, what? So they're making it a bit like Fallout, like how the VATs they used to show.
Well, apart from without VATs, obviously.
Well, sometimes the dragon kill animations just take forever. I mean, they're kind of cool, but like leaping up on the
never
deck
see that.
and like stabbing it in the... It's kind of cool, but
I virtually never see that animation. I don't know why. It's not like I'm not hitting it in the face with the sword.
Yeah, there's quite a few. It's not just one, I don't think.
I've only seen that one where you ride it forever.
Yeah, it takes forever. Some of them are shorter.
And it doesn't really do a stabbing animation. It's more like just sort of flail vaguely in its face.
It's kind of a cool end to an epic that dragon fight.
It takes way too long though.
Yeah. I suppose, I don't know how it's
But I'm sure ranged weapon kill cams will be extremely annoying if I ever go back. Because I'm sure it will do it like every fucking time I fire an arrow, because I just one-shot everything. Yeah. And if there's anything that's going to trigger it, it will be, you know, like critical damage, surely.
Unless it's like stealthed only or something.
Well, it's like, you know, the stealth backstab neck slash kill is an animation every time you do it.
That is, yeah. How do you deal with like big groups of enemies?
You just don't. You just pick them off one by one, stealth.
Oh, right. Well, you just run away and hide.
No, just wait and just hang around out of view and look at their patrols and then work out where the weak spot is.
Oh, okay.
And then if you get it down to like 2, it's whatever. I had that ridiculous sword from the Thieves Guild, that chill rend thing. So
I'm looking forward to the chill rend.
Once I actually got discovered, it was just like paralysed.
Yeah, might have to go into one of those. Where do you do the? What are the main quest lines? There's the main quest line, the storyline, and then there's the Dark Brotherhood and the Thieves Guild. Is that it?
And the companions.
Oh, and the companions, yeah. And
I don't want to do the companions.
No, because it's like I don't want to be a werewolf. I'll just leave that. Where do you start the Dark Brotherhood stuff?
It's in Winterhold, I think.
Oh, do you have to be like
the one town that you don't really go to during the story?
So
no, wait, not Winterhold. The other one that's wintry.
With the M. Macro. No. I haven't been there.
No, not Markarth, because you never go there.
I haven't been there at all. There are loads of towns that I've just not... I've avoided most of the cities.
Yeah, you never go to Markarth, ever.
So far, I've been obviously Whiterun, and then the first one I actually went to was Solitude. Way up in the
Windhelm, that's the one.
And then, yeah.
That's the one I'm thinking of.
Oh yeah, that's the one, because you get a quest almost immediately, which is like, go and join the Rebellion, and that's, I've not been there yet.
You don't really go, I think I went there once at some point. Oh, you go near there in one of the main story quests. But I don't think you actually go there.
You go there, it's kind of close to, you can see it, because there's a dragon you have to kill quite early on that's near there, and you can see it.
So at least you get vaguely nearby that one.
Yeah, sure. There's is there a bridge over to it or something?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like from the swampy area.
But I think that's where the Dark Brotherhood starts.
Right, that makes sense. Have you done that stuff?
No.
Okay. Maybe we should do that at the same time so we can talk on it at some point.
Maybe.
Anyway, see, we haven't even played Skyrim.
Does this mean that in order to do the companions storyline, you need to become both a vampire and a werewolf?
How do you become a vampire?
That exists, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think
you can
so.
I think you can just get that from being bit by a vampire.
Oh, right.
Or hit by a vampire, yes.
I've never seen a vampire.
Yeah, you see vampires all the time.
Really?
Yeah, they're all over the damn place. Where's that one that you have to...
What do they look like?
Just like guys.
All right.
That's the main problem.
How do you tell they're vampires then?
Whereas when their name comes up, it says something I'm a vampire.
Oh.
Apprentice vampire or something. Or whatever.
Okay. Yeah.
So they don't go around wearing rather ornate clothing.
Well, they do if they're not trying to blend in. If you're in like some random cave in the middle of nowhere where it says like, oh, I found a vampire there, and then they'll be like wearing stupid black robes. Well, a lot like mages, really, but...
Blur.
Do they have
no cravats? Or...
No, I don't think so.
Do they have an HQ like the Mages College or whatever? Like a vampire den place of... Or are they just...
I don't know if they have a main one. There is you do there's a sort of mini side quest that has like, you go to a town and it's like, oh no, this guy might have murdered his family. Oh no, it was actually his vampire wife was making him murder his family. And it's like, oh, let's go kill the master vampire in this cave. That was quite a pain in the ass the first time I did it, because I'm not sure if he was specifically leveled or whether it was just unusually difficult. But I was like, what the fuck? And then the funny thing was when I did that with my stealth character, I just had like super abuse on like field of view because he's sitting in a throne and he never moves. So he's like, he has 2 or 3 guys that walk sort of just behind the throne, and because it's just out of his 180-degree field of view, I was just murdering his dudes with stealth backstabs right behind him, and he never moved. And then I was just like, he's sitting in a chair, so I can't do a stealth backstab on him unless I come in from like right behind the chair and then just stab him in the arm and it still counts. And then I still one-shot him. It was like, lol, stealth.
A bit of me is still interested in Amalur, I have to say, on the sort of like RPG front.
It's supposed to be okay if you
it's
don't
more
bother
your
with
speed
side
than
quests.
Skyrim, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And it's pretty.
Don't bother with side quests is apparently the trick.
What, with Amalur?
Yeah, apparently there's just way too many of them, and they're all just pointless, boring, go and get a thing and come back type shit.
Oh, that's kind of annoying.
Just stick to the main storylines and maybe the faction stuff. Or something.
So somehow we've managed to talk about Skyrim in a week where none of you have played Skyrim.
Well, we need to fill some time, I think.
Oh, well. Any news? Well, this is the news section.
Yeah, I guess that was the patch. That was the patch news.
That was the patch news.
There was a patch for Space Pirates and Zombies, so we can cover the one new thing that I played this week.
Okay. What has changed in that game?
They finally got round to putting in the bounty hunters.
All right.
So, new ships and a new faction, sort of. Except it's like the bounty hunters they have a base in one system, and then their influence spreads out one system in every direction. And then if you do anything bad in that era, you get a bounty, and then they'll come after you.
But they didn't bother adding it to the acronym though, so it's not spaz.
Well, on the main screen it says it has spaz, and then underneath it has Space Pirates and Zombies, and then it just has and bounty hunters.
But it's now Spazab, and if they add other things, it's like they could make this like acronym insane. Like,
it's not like there was really space pirates. It's like you was a space pirate, sort of, I guess.
And aliens, but then I was thinking and armies as well. So actually, my acronym would just end up being loads of A's. Spazaba.
Well, the fact that A is even in the abbreviation at all is the first problem.
What you reckon that and shouldn't be in there?
That's the traditional way. You don't abbreviate and. Unless it's a very specific situation.
So in my expansion packs, it would be Spuzba.
Bounty hunters.
So how does it play with the bounty hunters in there?
No different. They did do a lot of other rebalancing, like, actual changing of mechanic, stats, numbers, that kind of thing. I haven't really played far enough for it to have any different so far. And I'm playing it through again because they added 2 more fucking achievements, ruining my S rank again, motherfuckers. And one of them is right at the end of the game. And I'm like, God damn it. I'm going to play this entire fucking game again. Put it on easy.
Is that what you did then?
Yeah, I haven't got very far into it yet, though.
I would not be asked in a million years.
I know.
Delicious S rank. It's awesome.
Oh dear.
It's not that bad a game or anything.
No, it's a good game.
And there's also the other thing that they put in with the bounty hunters, which is there's also an achievement attached to that I could probably do it sooner than the other one, is like they added specific like arena fights basically, where you get a specific ship and it's like set at a specific tech level and everything, so it doesn't matter what level you are, it's, set up fight. So you actually have to win by skill or whatever, rather than just outgunning everything.
Yeah, sure.
So I started doing a few of those. But I didn't get very far into that either. I didn't get past the point of just having, like, one tiny pansy frigate fighting another one or whatever.
So that's Spaz.
Yeah, that was the update to that.
Spaz.
I watched those GDC PlanetSide videos you were talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That looks cool.
But the guy playing it being retarded.
Yeah, sure.
And it's obviously very, very early, isn't it? Like, there's a lot of animations missing and things look a bit sort of stinted, don't they? Sort of a bit wooden.
It was only retarded because he was trying to talk and play.
Well, it's because every time he spawned, he didn't spawn on his squad. He spawned back at the fucking transport and then walked that same bit of level again.
Yeah, that was a bit of a rubbish demo. But still.
Even after he described how you can spawn on your team,
it was like,
I
do it. But yeah, it did look pretty cool. It looked
alright. As I say, it perhaps needs a bit more feedback on when you're actually hitting stuff and when you're getting shot.
Yeah. You can't tell at all.
It's a lot like the first PlanetSide, to be honest.
I don't really remember what that was like to actually play.
But you know what I mean? It was cool in concept and it had some cool... I don't know. It looked pretty good. And then it just didn't have very much weight to it sometimes.
I suppose the most interesting thing that came out of that was the discussion that, on previous podcasts we mentioned that we weren't entirely sure about its financial model. But, they did outright come out and say, it's free to play. There will be no stat boosting stuff behind a paywall. The paywall will literally...
That's what they say.
Yeah.
That's the classic problem with it. You can say that now.
The paywall will be aesthetics like TF2's hats.
Seems crazy to me. Why?
I'm not entirely sure it's going to work for them, though.
They should just charge for it, at least at first.
Maybe, yeah.
Loads of people...
Or at least have perhaps an entry... how's it going to be? Is it like totally free to play, or are they going to do like a Guild Wars free to play?
Really go into it any more specifically than that. So
I think a Guild Wars free to play model will suit them better. They probably need
Guild Wars is going to have new microtransactions in too.
When is that coming?
Fuck only knows.
It's supposed to be this year.
It's already beta, so it can't be that much longer.
Because, of course, in other news, Diablo got a release date, and, of course, now Torchlight 2 is after Diablo 3.
Yeah.
Oh, dangerous.
Yeah. So they're like, fuck. So, yeah.
Dangerous.
So basically, Torchlight 2, they just sucked.
Yeah.
Kept saying, why is it not out yet? You better hurry up, fools. And then they didn't.
Too late.
They missed the boat.
It's like freaking May or something. I'm actually going to play that, I think, Diablo 3.
Really?
Yeah, because I haven't had a chance to play a Blizzard game since Warcraft 2 or something.
By StarCraft 2.
Yeah, but I'm not very good at RTSs. I think I'd be better at Diablo.
The campaign's short.
Have you played it?
Well, no, 1/3 of the campaign.
Yeah.
I might get StarCraft 2, I don't know. Why? What's your problem with Diablo?
Well, I don't know. It just...
Play Torchlight.
Well, exactly.
Yeah,
I think the problem I have with it is that, I don't know, I never really got into Diablo 2. And it's like, I don't think I quite understood it, if you know what I mean, with the randomly generated dungeons, the relatively simplistic gameplay.
Yeah.
And there never really seemed like there was anything to it. It was just walk into area, click lots of buttons, like a lot, like click, 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 wait until room was either clear out enemies or you had died. And that to me was the entirety of the depth of the game. I didn't get the loot grind. I didn't get the...
But what's different with Torchlight?
You have more abilities.
There's quite a lot of abilities.
The abilities are a lot more interesting.
In 3, though, from the looks of it.
In Torchlight. Yeah, and Torchlight I think was just generally... The setting was prettier and more appealing rather than Diablo's sort of completely and utterly macabre.
But Diablo 2 is like ancient.
I know, but Diablo goes with this sort of depressing aesthetic, doesn't it? Like it goes very heavy on that sort of dark and dingy and nasty sort of approach, whereas Torchlight was kind of like, I don't know, I just found it like, ooh, it's a bit brighter. Ooh, it's quite nice.
It seems like there's quite a bit of variety in Diablo 3 now, with the sand, there's desert levels and all kinds of crap going on. So
I'm still not sold. I will, yeah. Maybe it'll hook me if I ended up sort of getting it, or if someone bought it for me. But yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But it's not coming out. Yeah. So,
and in all honesty, the co-op may win me over, but it's but I know what we're like when it comes to playing co-op games.
Yeah, well, I've got the internet sorted now.
I know.
Can actually play.
We need to fucking play more Magicka.
Yeah.
That game is awesome.
You never remember to say that when you're like, what are we going to play? It's like always Tier or Battlefield.
True, I do forget about it. It's like, it's my go-to are shooters.
I'm still not sure when to get Battlefields if I do get it, which I probably should at some point.
I don't think it's going to ever get any cheaper if you're waiting for when the DLC comes out or something.
Yeah.
Well,
it won't get any cheaper until all the DLC comes out, and that'll be like the end of this year or something.
Well, it'll have to be Origin, won't it? Even if
but buy a disc version might be cheaper.
It still installs Origin, but yeah.
Yeah, but
I have
the
that
disc
already anyway.
Yeah, the disc version will be cheaper than the Origin version.
Oh, maybe I should have a look around the shops, see if there's any...
Well, piece of games depreciate fast, so yeah. If a physical edition still exists somewhere,
go into game. See if they've got a sale going.
I'll wait until they actually.
Oh my god! Yeah, when
game
game finally closes, that's going to be amazing. Isn't it?
Like, they've gone into administration now, so it might not close.
They're still trading.
There's no more. Well, yeah, they're in administration. Worse than that, even more companies have now sort of turned around and said, "We're not giving you games." Like things like Capcom and.
But why would anyone? That's obvious. It's like now they've gone through administration, no one's going to give them games. That's the whole point.
I think they're like.
Well, they're not even going to sell them games. Is the thing? It's like it's not even the fact that they're just I suppose from like Capcom and stuff like that. It's like presumably they have to sell the games, and then Game have to resell them on. So it's like to Capcom. Surely if Game like just sort of bought a load of stock, Capcom have still made money. Say. Or does it? I don't know. Maybe there's some weirdness about how the game industry works, and that they get delivered stock, and that the money only actually ends up reaching.
Yeah, I'm sure they have ridiculous
developers
deals
upon
and like requirements where it's like you have to sell so much of whatever.
I don't know. I think there will be a lot of shops close, even if it floats or survives as another company.
Well, there's only one game in Ipswich.
Yeah, and I think
a Game Station, I guess. I choose one of them.
I kind of hope Game Station survives.
It's the same company.
I know, but I kind of hope Game Station as the brand survives more than Game does, because I don't know. Game has always seemed slightly more. It's slightly too expensive for what it does, if you know what I mean. Whereas Game Station, weirdly, even though it's the same company, feels more competitive, and they have a very good. I know the industry doesn't really like it, but their second-hand division is much neater and much better than Games was.
I wonder how it ended up being branded.
It was because it was a shop that was designed for second-hand.
Exactly.
Rather than Game where it's just like, here's a tray in the corner.
Exactly, but it kind of works, and I kind of hope that they stick around for that reason, because every now and then there's a bargain.
That shop in Ipswich is not going to say Game for much longer.
No.
But what will it say? GameStop? Electronics Boutique back again?
I wonder if EV will come back, yeah.
They were meant to be coming back, weren't they?
I don't know.
I think that might have been an American one. They rebranded again, back to Electronics Boutique again.
Yeah, something will happen. Or maybe it'll be a new random...
It'll be a clothes store.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Oh man, the clothes store. I walked around...
Or McDonald's.
The amount of...
It can't be a McDonald's, it's like 10 feet away from the other McDonald's.
Okay, by that logic then it'll be a Starbucks.
Yeah, that's true. There isn't a coffee shop in the actual centre of it. So
no, wait, there's two Starbucks.
Yeah, but they're not on the actual strip. They're
the White Line Hotel right next to Game Station.
Oh, that's true. There is one.
This is Ipswich local knowledge, by the way. But that's a Starbucks.
There is a Starbucks there now.
There's like 3 Starbucks in close proximity.
It's a tiny.
It's on the square, but it's not on the strip. I don't count that. If it's not on that exact road.
It is on that exact road. That hotel's on that road. The old White Horse Hotel?
No, because when you come up to there, you're on the corner.
It's only a couple of junctions away from H&M and where Game sits.
Well,
anyway,
I mean, there is 2 coffee shops literally one from
coffee
out.
Yeah,
it's just full of coffee
and
shops.
And
a Subway.
Yeah.
A Greg's. It could be another Greg's. We've only got one Greg's in it.
Globalisation.
The Greg's isn't that far away either.
That's the other end of town, isn't it?
No, you go up to the crossroads where the road crosses the pedestrian bit, and then you go down
Nobody
towards
cares.
the bus station. That's where the Greg's is.
Oh. Anyway, it'll be replaced by some prolific chain store.
There's no brands that already have a presence in it.
Ipswich doesn't have a Hotel Chocolat.
It's not going to get one, as we probably discussed.
Yeah.
That's too close to Thornton's.
Too expensive. No one could afford that.
Yeah, Ipswich isn't classy enough a town.
No, I don't know who is dumb enough to really shop in there, because I mean it's not good value. Even though it's very nice stuff, it's still not good value because it's still too much money.
No, and I suppose you're right. Thornton's is right there, and it would be shouting at it where it's considerably less prices.
It'd be cheaper to go to fucking Belgium and get chocolate. You could get just as good chocolate. And it... yeah, anyway.
Maybe it'll become a Zavvi. That'd be funny. We'll bring back our high street stores into the game stores.
You know, it might just happen. It might just get bought out by another bigger store.
What's in the Zavvi store now, as in the old Virgin Mega store?
I don't know.
Switch, some clothes.
Clothes.
Yeah, anyway. It's all clothes all the time. The amount of people I saw in H&M today, they were trading, they were making loads of cash, I bet. Everyone works hard and then give their teenage daughters all this money and they just go in and spend it all in H&M. That's how the local economy works. It's like every single service, it just feeds into H&M and Topshop.
And Primark.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Isn't it?
They just gather up all the money, them and Tesco's.
I can get like 20 socks for £1, man. Yeah. Socks.
19 socks for it.
19. Yeah, that's the one. Then they throw an extra one in free. It's 18 with an extra one free. For the washing machine.
Sacrifice the socks and washing machine guns.
Therefore, they shall protect the rest of my whites.
So that's game news then.
Game news.
Game news. Any other news? Or did you see, not that this is probably the much interest, but there was a budget that the Chancellor delivered the other day, and it included
when they nearly mentioned video games.
Tax releases for the video game industry, so they can do slightly better.
So that's a good. After all this time, Canada getting away with taking all our people and making Mass Effect. What are they doing?
Bastards.
I know. Bastard Canadians. You're not my buddy, guy.
You're not my guy, buddy.
You're not my friend. Anyway.
Does that tick the racism box for this week?
Maybe.
Or is it? It's probably
hard to be racist against Canadians.
Well, it's in the Commonwealth, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Kind of dissing ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Fuck you, British Empire.
What you talking about? Anyway.
I suppose there is Sonic news this week.
Oh, good.
As always.
Haven't they said that there won't be another episode after episode 2?
Correct, yes.
Like, lol, it's like Valve all over again.
As Checkpoint, I think Checkpoint had the best description of this. They fulfilled the minimum requirement for being an episodic title by making two in not really episodic timescales
at all.
So it's a very good. I wonder why. In fairness, maybe they're actually thinking of, the next one we make will probably be Sonic 5 and be like good.
Well, the real question is, what the fuck were they thinking in the first place? Because it's like, if they were making a Sonic game and they were like, well, no, let's make this downloadable and split it into parts. So, okay, typical Sonic game, we have like 8 stages. So let's do 4 in one and 4 in the other. 2 episodes. What was anyone else expecting to happen?
Well, it's normally 6, isn't it, in a Sonic game? And it's
well, sort of 7.
Well, yeah, with the additional ending stage, I suppose, or the Chaos Emerald based stage.
Yeah, or the other bits and pieces, I suppose.
So,
like, what? There's no way to break. They started with too small a number to split it into episodes. Unless they were making super cheap episodes where it's like, buy one stage for 200
it should have been a
points.
stage an episode. That would have been cool.
Well, the problem was that I think
too small. I think that the overhead of
Do you think?
Well, they were
putting it through
maybe
each individual bit.
Yeah, maybe
all that kind of shit.
Well, actually, no. I think the problem is that there were 2 major flaws in Sega's delivery, and we've talked about this before. For starters, the engine raised a lot of complaints from Sonic fans, saying that they've messed up a few of what are fundamental to how Sonic handles and stuff like that. It's not exactly the same as other Sonic games, which obviously gets a few fans riled. I didn't mind it too much, but there was a couple of momentum weirdness. Like how you could, if you release the stick, you could stop in the air, things like that, which is a bit odd. It lacked the sense of momentum that Sonic normally has. But it's the bigger problem, I think, was that they were charging 1,200 points, and it's like, and I think what happened is that there was such a problem. I don't think episode 1 sold particularly well. And, not as well as Sega expected. In combination with the fact that it was only 4 stages, in combination with the fact that it didn't play like a normal Sonic game, kind of got the fans a bit annoyed. Meaning Sega then had to sort of address this problem and go, actually, you know what, we can't they've taken a long time to release this one, so it breaks the episodic rule. So perhaps the plan was originally to release like episodes of 4 stages in rapid succession without having to change much in terms of the engine or much of the graphics model, things like that. But obviously, because everyone had a bit of a problem with it, they thought, in Sega's newfound humility approach, they sort of said, actually, you know what, let's at least fulfill our episodic promise, but make the next game a bit better. It's probably still going to only be 4 stages, and it's probably going to still be 1,200 points, to be consistent. Which is the wrong price point, make it 800.
That would be weird if they changed the control dynamics, though.
Well, apparently they have.
Well, it's got Tails in.
It's got Tails in
between
too.
2 games, presumably it won't link the games together. It won't you won't be able to put these into one continuous play session or something.
It's probably not going to work like Sonic 3 and Knuckles. There's probably some technical challenges on how. It would have
to be like Sonic 3 and Knuckles. It could just be like a downloadable game with an expansion pack, I guess.
I think that was probably what they originally planned, but then didn't bother making as part of episode 1, the ability to chain the games together. I think they probably looked at like Penny Arcade Adventures and thought, well, we could just make them like separate titles like that and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
And
Arcade Adventures, still need to play that. Sitting around
or DevSpank even. DevSpank kind of fulfilled the episodic promise, I guess, with its 3 entries, but it's
sort of.
Yeah.
At least they didn't say episode.
No, true. But they always did say it was going to be like a running series.
Yeah, if you're going to make episodic comment, just don't use the word episode, then you're fine.
No one will know if you can't up.
Yeah, surprise people with it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the key. Unless you're Telltale, because you seem to get it right.
Well, it's because they lay it out and literally put money down on it, don't they? They say, buy all 5 episodes, and they've only made the first one.
Yeah.
It's like they kind of commit themselves.
Subscribe to the series, yeah.
Like a TV show.
Yeah. Which is no bad thing, because they, Telltale play the game as well, because like a series of their games often all has, a combined story arc as well.
Yeah.
Which is, they get it right.
Minecraft is going to be one of the most expensive Microsoft Xbox Live games.
How much?
$20 or whatever that is in points.
We're talking like 2,000 points there-ish. Probably more.
The most expensive. There's other things that have been that price before on Xbox Live, but
there's not much.
Not many of them.
No, there really isn't much.
Xbox original games like Halo or something. Can't you get that off Xbox?
Yeah, but that's in real money as well.
Right, that's in real money. Okay.
And the Xbox On Demand stuff is in real money as well, as opposed to points. But yeah, there isn't much that really pushes the boundary. Like 1,600, I thought maybe, or 1,800 might be where it goes, but that's still less than $20 or 20 quid anyway. I suppose actually thinking about it, $20 might hang around the 1,600 range.
Yeah, I think it's supposed. I forget what the point number was, but it did say it's the most number of points that anything on Xbox Live charges. So there hasn't been many other games that have charged that much.
Probably 1,200 or 1,600 then, I reckon.
Not 1,200. That's too low. That sounds like a normal price.
Yeah.
Connect support, lol.
Well, really?
That's what they said.
How's that going to work?
That's what they said. And that was practically when it first got announced, they said Connect support, and everyone was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
How well is it really going to work on Xbox compared to PC anyway?
Yeah.
It's the classic mouse problem, I guess.
Can you physically punch trees?
That'd be funny.
Now that'd be funny.
Fucking trees.
Punch everything.
I'm going to kick the cow.
It's like, really, that's the question. It's like, what will be the motion you have to do to activate the tool in your hand? Be like, hold your hand up. Can you flail madly in order to flail madly? That'd be funny.
That'd be awesome.
I reckon they might have a vocal inventory to, like, say, axe or whatever to get your pickaxe out, or like wood and it'll bring out your wood or something like that.
Maybe.
Wood and it'll bring out your wood.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Definitely.
Can you just make an axe holding thing and it'll bring out your axe and then chop?
Yeah, like specific hand positions in different tools.
I don't know.
That'd be funny. Get gesture-based interface.
That could be kind of neat.
None of this is going to actually.
No.
It'll be too simplistic, won't it?
Yeah. Anyway.
Perhaps it will tie more into the adventure mode than it will the sort of creative stuff. But, walk around, stab things. But
yeah, but the walking around stabbing things is not good gameplay either.
And then also, that begs the question, how are they going to implement the walking around element with Kinect anyway, because the only thing I think I've really seen that sort of implements that at all has been Rise of Nightmares.
That'd be funny if it was like that.
That's hilarious.
That would probably make it quite challenging if you consider how shitty Minecraft's AI and combat actually is. You had to navigate using Rise of Nightmares' ridiculous system in order to actually turn around and attack things. That would probably make it quite difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be that way, is it?
No, I don't know what it's going to be.
Do you reckon they might do a better with Kinect approach? So, like how Halo, the Halo Anniversary Edition just adds vocal stuff.
Mass Effect 3 does that.
I don't know about vocal stuff in Minecraft.
No, because it's so quiet in Minecraft.
Well,
the music's not playing, generally.
Maybe that's a reason to have it, instead of not to have it. Put something in to fill that gap. Voice commands.
This should be an achievement for swearing when you hear a creeper.
Fuck!
It's a creeper! Fuck! No! Blowing up my house.
That'd be fucking. Those are going to be ridiculously impossible to deal with with like a controller with like fixed rotation speed. Because the mouse you can turn around fast enough to know to like hear it behind you and then turn around and start running away from it instantly.
Aren't they having Enderman's going to be slightly tricky as well because
they teleport behind you? Yeah, that's going to be fucking impossible as well. Unless they have like a 180-degree button.
Yeah, they could do that. But I hate those buttons anyway.
No,
it's rubbish with them.
That's the funniest example I think of that. Do you remember, Zach might remember this, but ages and ages and ages ago, when, in the early days of the PlayStation 1, my brother picked up a copy of a game called Pode, P-O''D, and it was supposed to like sound like things are completely Pode now, like kind of usage.
What?
And it was basically an incredibly shit shooter that I think Rick got rid of or traded in or something, but we don't seem to have it anymore for whatever reason. But it introduced a 180 button, but it called it the backflip button, which doesn't make any sense anyway, because you face the same direction when you backflip. But whenever you pushed it, because it was a first-person shooter, it would sort of like the camera would flip into the air and then point you down the other way, and it would play a ninja sort of like "Hwah!" sound effects. You'd be like "Hwah!" and then face the other direction to unleash your pixelated hell.
It's quite funny.
It was the best bit about the game, basically. Just this backflip
spinning
button.
around. Awesome.
The rest of it was terrible.
Okay. Listeners from 1996 do play Pode.
I'm gonna have to look that shit up now. Just get a reminder of how terrible it was.
Oh dear. Any other news?
News!
That doesn't substitute for
that wasn't news.
Just saying news doesn't.
It sounded a bit like Soulja Boy in my head. News! Crack that Soulja Boy! News!
No Soulja Boy news. That I know of.
Are you sure?
I'm never sure.
No.
iPad 3 having problems?
What's wrong with it?
Busted Wi-Fi and overheating?
Yeah, well. I mean, that's the thing.
Antenna Gate Mark II?
If you just make it more powerful and have the same aluminium case, which is passive cooling, but it's obviously going to get hotter and hotter unless they make is the fabrication process for the processor like less nanometers or whatever?
I don't know. They did say it would reports are coming in that it's been running as much as 10 degrees hotter than an iPad 2, which doesn't sound like much.
No.
And it's like, that's normally not so bad.
You have to actually hold it. That's the thing.
Yeah,
unlike
exactly,
a laptop, which you can put on your lap, which is okay.
But that's probably not so bad. Like 10 degrees probably isn't that bad. But the problem really is that reports are coming in that, after some usage, I don't know whether it's been heavy usage or not, but people have posted screenshots of what happens when the iPad overheats, and it just goes to a little orange triangle screen saying this is overheated. I'm not going to work for a while.
Yeah, apparently it's possible to get that similar screen on the iPhone. I've never seen it myself.
No, neither have I.
You do get a "this is overheating" screen. Apparently,
presumably no one wants to fall into the Xbox trap and have it so I think the Xbox has been a lesson to everyone in electronics, saying whatever you do, don't ever let your system overheat to the point where it warps your circuit board and red rings your console.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah, but the Wi-Fi thing I think is the biggest shitter, because apparently like people who don't have the overheating issue with their iPad have issues getting on their Wi-Fi network, which is fairly inexcusable given that they got it right with previous editions. There are rumours flying that perhaps it's related to the fact that the 4G chipset isn't that compatible with the Wi-Fi chipset. Like there's some interference issues, maybe. Some people are saying that the Wi-Fi only models are fine, but I don't know. A bit of it sort of reeks to me of it's been blown out of proportion once again, and it's the guys are sort of just saying like there was a dodgy batch and it's been kind of bad because all the news seems to be stemming from one Apple support thread where every article seems to quote the same posts on this thread like repeatedly. So it's I wonder if it's like a little bit like, oh, it's happened before, it's happened again kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, sure, I can imagine some of them may go a bit crappy, but and it is probably a batch issue from what I read, but it's probably a bit epic. Don't get me wrong, AntennaGate was real. It's true.
Oh, that was real, yeah.
Yeah, my iPhone 4, I can, if I hold it in the wrong place, fuck it right up.
Right.
And I use it without a bumper or anything, but it doesn't mean it affects my usage of the phone in general. I can still just generally hold it in my right hand and not have a problem.
Yeah.
It exists, but it doesn't kill the device.
No.
This Wi-Fi thing might actually be a killer. But,
potentially.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that much about it, but
no.
Noise will increase.
I'm glad I haven't dipped straight in anyway, because I kind of do want one. And unfortunately, the primary reason is probably Bejeweled. Fuck that game.
Are you guys going to talk Bejeweled?
We did play some more.
Yeah.
We competitivized it. We were playing the Chrome version.
In
taking
speed
turns.
mode. Yeah, the Chrome version of Speed, but you have to do everything in that 1 minute. And basically the difference is that when your time runs out in speed mode on Bejeweled Chrome, or presumably any other normal Bejeweled copy, you get any time you've accrued re-added to the clock, and your multiplier goes up at that point. Whereas on Bejeweled Blitz, you have to make multipliers appear on the level and claim them to gain it. So it's the game is fixed length on iPhone and on Blitz even, and variable length on Chrome. But kind of like the Chrome iteration better, except for the fact when fucking time doesn't appear on phase 3, it's so irritating.
It's not that hard to get past phase 3, I don't think.
No, not normally, but it's like I just seem to struggle. Sometimes when the game gets to phase 3, I could be causing all manner of wonderfully beautiful combos to the point where the announcer gets to the stage where it's going, unbelievable! In its awesome, awesome voice. But still no time is appearing, and it's like, what do you want me to do? Yeah. It's like there's a sort of ruling that I found on like the Facebook version of Bejeweled Blitz. It's like I've almost been like doing the rounds here. I'm like try every version, and like where apparently like you make the multipliers appear in Blitz by clearing a certain number of blocks. Like when you clear 12 gems, there's a chance that will create a multiplier.
Right.
Something like that. So I wondered if there's the same thing in. Like the same rule applies in normal Bejeweled, but I'm not sure it is. I think it's just completely random, and it gets less likely as the more rounds you go through.
Yeah.
And it's yeah. And of course, the problem with that is that sometimes less likely means you don't get fucking anything. Which
sometimes you get too many.
Yeah, and sometimes
you can actually get more than a minute's worth of extra time, and then it doesn't count any longer.
Yeah. Oh, and there are some other weird glitches as well that I noticed on the original, like I tried to explain to Zach earlier, like, in order to create what are the electro gems, you need to create like a cross of matches, or like a T shape, or like where two lines intersect of the same gem, basically. And on the intersecting point is where an electro gem would normally appear. Now, if that intersecting point is a time gem instead, that would add time to your like bank or whatever, you don't get the electro gem out of it because the time gem disappears and gets put in the bank. So there's something like awkward there. It's like, damn it! I made a good match and it was worthless!
I didn't know that you could actually match 6 in a row.
I suppose you could from a drop if you're lucky.
Yeah, I've had it happen a couple of times. It makes a different kind of gem as well.
Oh, does it?
It's actually not as good. It's like it's actually worse than the 5 match, the Hypercube. It's like once you get to 6, it makes an electro gem, except it destroys 3 rows in both directions.
Oh, it's pretty powerful.
It's pretty bad, but I still think that's worse than the cube. But then again, since you can basically only get it from random.
Well, I suppose that, you can only really get it from random. I suppose the cube is more useful in non-timed games, because it's as you mentioned before, it's your get out of jail card.
Well, the cube does kind of help time games as well, because obviously it pauses while it's destroying everything.
Yeah, but it's so hard to see where the moves are going to be after you use it.
It's true.
It's only real useful at so you use it to try and maintain your speed combo or something.
Yeah.
It destroys a load of gems of a certain colour on screen. But then of course, because they're all over the screen, it's hard to sometimes judge where things are going to fall and what moves you're going to be left with that you can actually use. So you end up sitting there for a few seconds after using it going, where the fuck's the move?
But sometimes it'll make its own combo.
Yeah. But even so, still, that gives you a bit more time. But yeah, it's I don't know, Hypercube's a bit of a mixed blessing if you ask me. They make more sense on the Blitz version because I say you can often use a Hypercube to get rid of more than 12 gems, which obviously has the multiplier chance.
Yeah.
But they make less sense on
you can theoretically make lines of 6 without having to have it come from a drop. But it'd be fucking difficult.
Man, I'm so tempted. Just the more I talk about it, this sounds retarded. A bit of me as a gamer is really disappointed in myself that I'm into Bejeweled, which is
why?
I don't know. It's both awesome and completely and utterly random as a puzzle game, and it's there's that element of random in puzzle games that sort of winds me up a bit. It's it's not much of a proper puzzler when what could drop on the screen will give you 1,000,000 points without you having to do anything.
I suppose.
But at the same time, I cannot get enough. So I might have to investigate whether Bejeweled 3 is an Apple Plus game, whatever they call it, like iTunes Plus or something. So when I eventually do get an iPad, which will probably happen some point in the future, I can have it on both things, so I can get the grips with it on my iPhone and then use the bigger screen to my advantage later.
Right.
This is hardcore.
Hardcore Bejeweled. On the big retina display, bitches.
Shit, yeah. Oh, that screen is lovely.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
Lovely. It does make me question whenever I see the advances in mobile screens. Why haven't desktop screens got any better or any cheaper?
That's what Jeff Atwood did a post about that. Coding horror guy, and it will happen. I think
it's got to surely.
Yeah, they're very expensive right now, but he's just saying this display is so good. I've never bought an iPad before, but I bought 2 of this one, and I might buy another one.
Holy shit!
Yeah,
that's obsession.
Yeah.
It's worse than my Bejeweled shit. If you're buying 3 iPads rather than a game,
just buy 4 iPads and then link them together somehow and make a screen.
Yeah, but the bezel's quite large.
That's true. You'd have to get a special magnifying thing where it zooms the screen out so you can match the edges of the magnifier.
Everything has to be more vector graphics, damn it, so that the screen resolution can take advantage.
Well, I'm sure I read somewhere that Windows 8 is going to start taking advantage of vector icons.
Well, I hope so.
Over bitmap icons.
That's the first step, really, after fonts, which have obviously been vector for years.
Well, I heard that. I can't say I've verified it on the Windows 8 blog, but it's been mentioned. Windows are targeting a ton of screen sizes and DPIs though, because obviously they have to if they want Windows 8 to work across 1 million different devices. And it's interesting to see what they've gone up to. They've basically planned for up to iPad 3 style resolutions and DPIs already. Yeah, well, obviously they'll have to. All the other manufacturers will have to compete with the iPad on specs. Yeah, for a start, because they can't beat their user experience very easily. Unless they, depends what they do with Android, but there'll probably be a push soon to sort of get screens up to competing level. But it's
I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the year that the Android tablets will have the similar screens.
Holy crap! Let's just see better desktop monitors, damn it!
Because they're made by Samsung, those displays. So they could just sell them.
I think it's Philips or.
No, I'm pretty sure it's Samsung who makes the iPad 3 display. It's funny because the Samsung and Apple have all these court battles, and yet they've cooperated quite closely to build the iPad 3. The screen is definitely Samsung.
No, I could have sworn it was a P company.
Anyway.
I say a P, I'm not a company involved in P.
Company. They recycle P into retina displays.
It's pretty sweet.
It's clearly Japanese.
This is completely off topic for a games podcast, but have you seen the Visual Studio 11 where it's all grey?
No, I haven't. No.
Yeah,
so they've got rid of the purple.
It's all grey.
Oh.
Like, totally. Like, even the icons are all grey. It's like...
It's like Windows 3.1.
Yeah, it's like... Well, it reminds me more of a kind of Adobe look, like a Photoshop
What,
look.
they've gone for the, like, graphite
Yeah,
style.
graphite.
A bit
Well,
like, or do you mean
no.
like blend? Have you ever
It's
used
more
blend?
just grey. I haven't used blend. But I don't think it looks too bad. I just think that losing colour information from icons kind of loses
That is a bit dumb.
part of the utility of icons. For like, the whole point is a small image that makes you recognise what you're about to do.
Easily.
And if you lose the colour from that, you're just relying on the shape.
Yeah.
And you're...
Yeah, no, I agree with that completely. Obviously,
Yeah. I mean, it's
as
better
a
from
UI guy, I think the loss of colour is quite drastic.
I mean, from an actual like visual standpoint, like allowing any color in an icon kind of makes your whole visual presentation look a bit of a mess.
But surely that doesn't matter when you're using an
IDE,
enterprise type tool.
Well, exactly. Yeah.
If it's consumer facing, then yeah, maybe. But if you're using a professional tool, then the presentation of the product surely is less important.
Well, the obvious answer, as always, the obvious but too much effort answer, as always, is just make them customizable.
Yeah, but they won't.
No, too much effort.
Way too much effort. Yeah.
Well,
It's not that much effort.
Well, no, but the question relies on someone out there writing a UI concept for the software.
Yeah, but people do that all the time for free on anything that is like Dwarf Fortress tile sets or whatever.
Yeah, but that's different, isn't it?
Not that much different. It's like one guy who just wanted to make a set of icons for a thing.
Games have a slightly bigger following for like creative stuff than IDEs.
I don't know. It's like
with the possible exception of the Visual Studio achievements.
If you're talking about
that's awesome.
It's like millions of people will use this program, and there's bound to be someone out there who's like, I don't like this, so I'm going to make it better slightly.
Yeah.
If they can.
Maybe.
Well, that's the thing. I use ReSharper at work or whatever, and apparently there's a bunch of... ReSharper is a plugin that extends a lot of and gives you a lot of new shortcuts and stuff.
Right, yeah.
In Visual Studio. And apparently the Microsoft people don't put those things into newer versions of Visual Studio so that ReSharper can continue to sell their add-ons.
They have a tricky position, I think, Microsoft, when it comes to their partners, because they have to support their partners to be able to make extensions, but not steal too many of the good ideas.
Yeah. Because there's a bunch of stuff in ReSharper that just seems totally obvious. But anyway. But no, they can't just put it into the new Visual Studio because that'd be stepping on the ReSharper's toes.
And they probably have
like a partnership agreement.
Well,
merge those guys into the actual...
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that's all about. Anyway, computer games rather than tools to actually make games.
Yeah, I couldn't figure anyone to use. I was trying.
While we were...
while you were talking for a while.
Xbox deals of the week are still shit.
That's not news, though.
There's Steam deals of the week at the moment, or something.
There's Steam deals of the week every week. And every day. There's a daily deal.
Yeah, no, but it's Lara Croft this weekend, isn't it, on Steam? And but it's
Movers Square or something, wasn't it?
But it's particularly shit on Xbox this week because it's BioShock 2. It's like, how fucking old is that? You know, you go back.
It's like, it is a full game though.
No, BioShock 2 and it's DLC, so it's like, don't know, not fast. Be more interesting. Put Rez on there for God's sake.
They're never going to.
They got iPlayer now.
Yes, they do. I suppose that's news. Xbox iPlayer. Pretty much identical to PS3 iPlayer, but with Kinect and voice support. So I can say, pause The Apprentice.
Do you have to say The Apprentice?
Well, no.
That would be an Xbox-style fuck-up.
You just have to, every time you say something, you have to tell it what program to pause. So it's like, pause The Apprentice, start Strictly Come Dancing. Although that would be amazing if it did it just that quick. If I could just go into iPlayer and say, start Strictly Come Dancing, and it would just
Start Strictly Come Dancing.
Strictly Come Dancing.
You could end up playing some weird shit. You start saying stuff like that. Treacly Come Dancing.
Treacly Come Dancing.
Playing the Food Network. Treacly.
Treacly. Alright, Treacle.
Is that a pet name? Treacle?
Treacle, yeah, apparently.
I haven't heard that one.
Alright, Treacle.
I guess it's sort of like sugar.
Yeah.
Apart from hotter or something. I don't know.
Hotter?
That's how you make treacle, isn't it?
That's true. Hey, I would call you sugar, but you're way too hot, baby. I'm going to call you treacle.
Or caramel.
Yeah.
Makes more sense. Treacly kind of means sickly sweet, though, doesn't it? As an adjective. If something's treacly.
I guess. I don't think I've ever heard someone say treacly.
Haven't you heard that?
Not really.
It's like is it saccharine?
I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that, but I'm more aware of that as a word.
Okay.
It doesn't enter most normal conversations, does it? I suppose saccharine.
Nah, I suppose not.
So you're talking about oranges.
Oranges.
Saccharine oranges.
Yeah. Right, computer games.
Yeah.
How are we doing?
Loads of time.
Loads of time.
Of course we got loads of time.
Shall I go?
You played new shit.
Okay, so
You have played Skyrim.
I haven't played Skyrim. I've been playing Mass Effect 3.
Woo! But we can't actually really talk about it.
We can talk about it.
Mechanically.
We can talk about things. So I'm nowhere near the end, and the end is all anyone's talking about on the internet. And I don't care. I don't want to know about the end, and I don't care if you think it's rubbish, because I'm sure it'll be fine. I get a feeling that...
It won't be a giant Terminator.
No, as long as it's not a giant, as long as it's not a giant fucking Terminator, we're all fine. I mean, it sounds like it's going to be depressing, but I don't mind, because there's not enough tragedy in general, let alone in games.
To be honest, there's something sometimes there's something nice about the sort of slightly less feel good ending.
Exactly.
Although, in fairness, games are generally pretty shit at endings. Let's be honest.
That's true.
Time shift. I'm looking at you.
I don't know what the best computer game.
Choose a bad game and then choose a bad game with a bad ending.
What's the best computer game ending?
Actually, Rage's ending's pretty bad as well. I'll get to that later, but.
I always remember the Command & Conquer ending with the awesome videos and choices and stuff.
That was quality.
Apart from, but it's like, endings are good until they retrospectively get ruined. It's like Command & Conquer, where it's like, Kane doesn't die somehow.
Oh, yeah. And they get retconned into oblivion, yeah.
And then, like, Halo 3, it's like, he's going towards this unknown planet. Oh, wait, it's just Forerunner stuff again.
Oh, yeah.
Going into Halo 4.
That wasn't a great ending.
No, it was okay.
It's like,
well, if you don't include the legendary ending part of it, the ending was great. It was like, he has the memorial and the arbiter's there, and then it has his little number scribbled on the memorial, and then it's like, oh, wait, he's still alive. Oh, well, never mind then.
Well, what I've heard about Mass Effect 3 ending, at least it is an ending. So, I'm as long as that has closure, I'm fine with it.
I don't know.
Maybe it'll be
People
dumb.
were suggesting it doesn't have that much closure.
Yeah, well, I'll see. We'll see. Anyway, but I've played a bit of it, so a few hours, I suppose. So, I can tell you a little about it, the start, so I won't be spoiling anything. I wouldn't have thought for anyone.
Do you immediately get onto galaxy map stuff, or is there a big long bit where you're in one place for a long time?
No, it's fairly quick, I would say.
No Citadel. No, you've had to spend Mass Effect 1 where it's like, spend 5 hours on the Citadel.
5 hours on the Citadel. You do go back to the Citadel quite fast.
I'm sure you
and
do.
Also, it's nice because you're kind of back in the Presidium, like in the first Mass Effect, rather than just on some ward.
Yeah.
So you get to see bits. It actually looks quite a lot like the first game in places.
Well, I guess it would.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's the same place, obviously, but, I don't know how much the graphics have got better. I suppose they're quite nicer, but yeah, it's kind of cool. You basically, when you're on the Citadel, you have a lift, and it takes you between these quite small different levels, but one of them is Presidium Commons, which is basically where you were in the original Mass Effect, and the embassies. That's another level, but that's
the embassies were on the Presidium.
They were, yeah. Now
so they've moved them all.
Well, they're slightly higher up, I think. Anyway, but yeah, that's all the same kind of stuff. Even has the same kind of Citadel-y music from the original game, which is weird because it contrasts quite a lot with. It's got this new sort of orchestral score, which is all a bit sort of doom-laden with all the Reapers and stuff. So,
does it still have SimCity 4 music playing in the shops? That was the classic.
I remember that. Yeah. No, I'm not sure it does. I can't remember that. Anyway, I will look into that for you, Zach. It's very important. Yes. So
I heard another one, because that was the one that I always knew, because I recognised it. It was like, SimCity 4 music playing in this shop, but according to what they said on the podcast, there's Need for Speed music plays in one of the clubs or something as well.
Oh, that makes sense, yeah. There's a club on the Citadel as well, a kind of a substitute for the one in 2.
Well, there was one in 1, apart from it was...
Yeah, it was lame though.
Yeah.
The one in 2 was awesome.
There was 2 in 1. Wasn't there? There was Cora's Den,
I
the
guess.
Gentleman's Club, and Flux.
I guess. Cora's Den was a strip club, though. So,
not
exactly
the same
both
thing. Were pretty lame clubs, if you were really going to go out there, they weren't that great. Yeah.
Whereas the one in 2 on, where the Asari woman played by Trinity from
You could do the
Matrix.
Shuffle.
Yeah, whatever. That was quite a lot cooler looking. So there's one of those in the Citadel now. It looks quite similar to that. It's not as big as the one in 2, but yeah. Yeah, I don't know how much you'd get out of this game if you didn't know what the fuck was going on and you hadn't played the previous one.
Oh, really? So you think it relies on the previous 2 really quite heavily?
Well, I think so. I mean, I don't know why you would bother to play it if you hadn't played the previous. It seems odd to... Anyway, but like... So every goddamn mission, and I don't know, it'd be interesting to see what happens if you have a save where, like, everyone's died. Because it seems like every mission is like, oh, it's you!
Yeah.
Like, every single mission you go on, like, cinematically designed or whatever, it's like... Every one of your prior characters has their own little mission. It's like, oh, it's you.
Well, it makes sense in some aspect because you're going around like trying to get these racers to join you for the big war.
Yeah,
so naturally, because your crew is made of basically one of each race.
Yeah. So it's like, fancy seeing you here.
But then again, that was
they
like
wouldn't necessarily be the leaders that you'd probably have to talk to in order to like make a difference.
Well, it was like in 2 where you go to fucking the Krogan place and then Rex is there.
Obviously.
If he hasn't died.
If he hasn't died. And then, of course, he's in this one, obviously.
Yeah. And he becomes the leader of the Krogans in 2. And it's like, well, I guess it's like the guy that I knew. How convenient.
And it seems like he's got... A lot of these guys seem to have quite big roles.
Like Tally was already, like, the daughter of one of the fleet admirals.
Yeah,
like,
that's true, yeah.
She was already...
I haven't seen her yet. I'm sure she'll turn up.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like, oh, it's Grunt. Oh, it's Jack. Or whatever.
I think Grunt will be the one that doesn't make much sense.
I wonder how they're going to blow over...
Because he's just a guy.
Well, that kind of did make sense, actually. They did a good job of it.
I wonder how they're going to blow over the romance plots this time. You know, like if you, you know, what separated them this time, other than because I'm assuming you don't die, unlike how you do at the start.
Of what do they do at the start of 3 to excuse changing your face if you change your face?
I didn't get an option to change my face.
Well, because you imported, so I guess.
Yeah, but you could if you imported.
You could in 2 because of the dying thing. That made sense.
Yeah, so now it's just like, yo, you're in, and like, there's no like dialogue of like, do you remember what happened in the previous game? Kind of cool dialogue thing. It's just like, yep, you'll go. Like, it basically the start of the game, the Reapers hit. That's it. Yeah. Like on Earth, and like it's really weird because everything from that point. You might be on the Citadel and you might overhear someone, I need some power converters to fix this door, and then you go out to some planet on the other side of the universe and that happens to have these power converters or whatever, so you bring them back, fetch quest or whatever, occasional fetch quest. Meanwhile, millions of people are dying every minute or something on Earth. Like, it's quite weird.
It can't take them that long to fuck up Earth, does it? It's like, how does this war last more than like 1 day or something?
Well, that's what I wonder, because it's like, how does it last more than 1 day? Because like, I actually had a bit of dialogue with Liara just now, and she was like, last time it took like 500 years to defeat the Protheans. It'd probably only take about 100 years to defeat us. And it's like, but...
what are you basing that on for a start?
Yeah. And
does she mean like...
Does she mean like 95% of all sentient life will die the first like month, and then after that it will take another...
Like picking them off, picking off the stragglers.
I don't know, but it's like... If there was a nuclear war on Earth today, like, everything would be fucked within, like...
2 seconds.
Yeah, like 2 seconds. It seems really bizarre that, like, the Reapers... You actually have time.
Need the bodies, don't they, or something? So
they want to harvest something.
They keep you alive, don't they? And then they mush you up alive from the...
Except they don't seem to be doing a very good job of that, judging by how it would, like... Let's shoot everything with giant red laser beams. That'll keep everything alive.
But I thought they only did that to facilitate their ultimate aim of just killing everyone. Like, it just helps to have more troops.
They harvest something, evidently, because it's a cycle, and then they, like...
Yeah, that's
they
true.
Say, and then they, like, reseed the world so that they can grow the organic life again or some shit.
I guess. I don't know. I guess it is a cycle.
Maybe you'll get some more explanation for that eventually.
Yeah, read the codex, find out what the hell... Because I can't remember everything about the Reapers for the previous games, but it does go some way to explain stuff.
Yeah.
But they just sort of... I don't really understand the Reapers in general. They're at least the Reapers... The big Reapers.
Yeah.
They're like these squid spaceships. But then they land on a planet with their tentacle things down, like legs. And then they sort of land... And then they sort of stomp around really slowly. So occasionally fire a laser at stuff. And it's like, what are these things?
Can they just hover in the air like Covenant?
Can they just bomb from space?
Fucking nuke the planet, right? That's the sensible way. And
maybe they're absorbing shit with their legs. Maybe that's how they absorb things.
They land in amongst like skyscrapers, like in a human city, and then they sort of stomp a bit. It's like, oh my god, it's the end of the world. Stompy, stompy. I don't know. It just seems a bit strange. You'd think, like, yeah, nuke the whole planet and then come in and pick off whatever stragglers or whatever with your husks or whatever. Do you really need to, like, land your spaceship and just sort of
make yourself
sit
vulnerable?
there? Yeah.
Although I guess mass weaponry is quite powerful in space, so I guess actually being in an atmosphere reduces the power of...
So what would the alternative be? Do the Reapers only attack Earth?
No, that's just
they're
it.
in a number of places.
So they start attacking various places. So Earth is immediately hit at the start of the game, but then very soon after you see the battle for the Turian homeworld, and you actually land and have a mission on like the moon of the Turian homeworld.
Cool.
And there's like, it is cool because it's weird. It's a kind of a very Mass Effect thing that you've got these quite corridory levels, but then there's a sort of walls, and then like a plateau, and then everything is like a big planet, but you just can't walk there, because it's not level. And then over, you can see in the sky the homeworld being destroyed, so the skybox is awesome and glowing, but then you actually see Reapers on the moon, just sort of stomping around, and they look pretty
Is there
cool.
even anything there?
Well,
how much of a developed moon is this?
Well,
it's not like actual Earth moon where there's fuck all.
Well, it's quite a military-based moon, I think.
Okay.
I think it's
there's
like,
actually stuff on it.
there's some, but it's not like cities. It's like fairly rocky.
Is it atmosphere moon?
Yeah, it does have an atmosphere. Okay. I think it's an artificially made one, though. So it's like...
So how would you rather this, like, story play out? Would you rather it would be more like the Reapers are coming, but we now know that they're, like, really, really close or something, so we've got a limited amount of time to get, and then have, like... But then change the game mechanics at the end so it becomes a space fighter or something, rather than...
Well, I'm not saying that.
Rather than bother... Because planetary assault almost doesn't make sense on this scale, does it? The sort of almost the Mass Effect style traditional combat almost doesn't make any sense anymore when you're doing it on foot. You know, these enormous
like the space battles are going to be a sequence.
Well, it was, so you see a sequence when you arrive at the
end of when you've got your fleet together at the end of the game. That's just going to be a sequence again.
Well, I presume so. Well, it was.
It's like, what are you going to be doing while that's happening? That's the question.
No, I don't know. I mean, they put gun turrets in, but that's just for the ground combat. That's just like, there's a troika now.
I suppose that's the problem that games face over like films and stuff. Like a film would probably go into an epic space battle.
So they had to just show. So when
Star Wars,
when you turn up at the Tyrian homeworld, you do see like a 5-minute sequence of Tyrian capital ships attacking Reapers, but it doesn't last long because they just get
killed,
pwned, obviously. And then but
did they not remember how to kill Sovereign? Or...
Well,
that
you
was
just
had to shoot it a lot. Apparently,
that was one.
They didn't really have any tactic.
Yeah,
it was like keep firing.
Well, no, wasn't it you killing Saren gave it? Weakened it or something because it was psychically linked to something.
Maybe, but
I thought that was it. Anyway, but so gigantic war. But it just everything seems too late to me. It's like every moment I spend like wandering around the Citadel, it's like everyone's just
chilling,
and like you don't
continue with their regular business.
That's the thing. Everything on the Citadel has always been and still is weirdly quiet. Like not much. Do you know what I mean? It's like a sound damped environment, and you hear these news reports. Oh yeah, this unknown enemy is like
unknown.
This weird.
Why would they still say unknown?
We think it's
Reapers weren't common knowledge.
So we think it's the Reapers that Commander Shepard like warned about for the past like 5 years. But I like. And also, just aspects of the Mass Effect universe in general, just sometimes are a bit weird. Like, I don't understand why.
Like, the Mass Effect universe is fine until you put the story in it. You know what I mean? It's like the universe on its own seems to hold up quite well, but
it's like you go and talk to the council, right? And it's the same. Like,
guys,
it's quite a small hall, really, with some trees.
Yeah.
And then there's like 3 dudes who like speak for entire massive races. There's nobody watching or anything.
Well, there was
it's just like
in Mass Effect 1, a crowd forms on some of the
battles. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, it just seemed like I was having a small conversation with the most powerful people in the universe who like.
Well, that's how it works in like real life. It's like you have the House of Parliament or whatever, but when they have their like PM meetings or whatever, they go into a room in like 10 Downing Street or whatever.
I guess, when they have cabinet meetings. But there's still
I'm
like
sure this would go to like
there.
a house or something. Normally, there'd be like a bit more discussion with a few more guys rather than... Because surely the council have to manage slightly more than just military concerns. You know, wouldn't they have like a military advisor? Or...
Well, they learned from Star Wars. It's like if you have a giant council, idiots get voted in, and then everyone dies.
Possibly.
It just seems like there's not, for this massive universe, there's not many people. Maybe that's the game engine, I suppose, or it used to be.
There's no crowds on this in there, Lauren. No crowd tech. They're not going Assassin's Creed.
Absolutely not. And it's just like a few people. Like there's a refugee camp, as it were. But of course, all it is a small docking area, and there's like
a door you can't go through.
There's like 3 of each race or whatever, just sort of hanging around amongst some boxes, being like, "Oh yeah, we're like refugees from the war and stuff." I don't know.
And then behind this door you can't go through. This is where
there's this massive, huge refugee camp. Yeah, it's just sort of all implied that everything is actually massive. So you look out and there's a big skybox and you can see the Normandy, which is cool, by the way. I always liked the Normandy Mark II, but I didn't like the Cerberus livery. So now they've just painted it blue in Alliance, and it's like, cool. You made the perfect ship now. Awesome. So yeah, because it got requisitioned after, so you handed it over presumably at the end of 3.
It was just a design anyway.
Sorry?
It was just the design anyway. It's like Cerberus stole the design to make their copy of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was an Alliance ship originally, so...
Well, it's quite a lot bigger than the first one, isn't it? The Mark II.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure as soon as anyone in the Alliance saw that, they were like, steal that design again.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, apparently they have made more, I think, possibly.
Well, there's plenty of them in the preview videos, isn't there? Like flying around on Earth and shooting at things.
Yeah. So that's the plot, as it were, at the moment. That's the main thread, is you're building up...
You're like, oh shit, everything's being attacked, I'm going to wander around for a while.
Yeah, so...
That's the plot.
Like galactic diplomat going around trying to, organise everyone to help in the fight against the Reapers.
Collect random stupid shit for random people that you don't really care about.
Yeah, sometimes there's a bit of that. But I don't know, they do a good job of making the more side missions even still seem important, even though I don't think anything is important, as I say, because it seems like it's way too late for anything.
Yeah.
But there you go, like, it feels like everything should be over immediately, just because if the Reapers are really that powerful, then yeah. Anyway, so we've said
well, they could be powerful but limited in number.
I don't know, they suggested there was quite a lot of them.
Yeah, there seems to be quite a few. But, so... And they got rid of the planet scanning thing, so now you just sort of weirdly, like, send a sonar pulse out of your ship when you're anywhere on the galaxy map, like flying around your little dude, your ship. But if you use it too much, oh no, the Reapers detect you, and they like come chasing after you, and you have to get back to the mass relay before they like catch you. I don't know, it's really dumb. It's on the galaxy map, so it's like little models of Reapers chasing your little dude, your little ship. It's pretty weird.
Do you still have fuel concerns?
Yeah, but that's only between they've kept that, but that's between the
I thought that was dumb as well.
Yeah, that's a bit weird, but anyway. So the new characters, there's like this new like butch, obviously Space Marine guy, who isn't too bad, I don't think. But the thing is that like, so you meet all these characters, fancy seeing you here, all the old people. And I've heard complaints that it's like they all have a convenient excuse for not joining you on your mission.
When you know that for the fact, when it comes to this, they'd probably be the only one that would probably believe you, and so like kind of would join immediately. It's like, fuck yeah.
It's like, oh, sorry, Shepard, I've got to like sit here. But I didn't think...
I've got to maintain my dignity on this throne.
Yeah. But actually, I don't think that's too bad, because in fact, you get Garrison and Liara almost immediately. And it's like, well, I'm not going to pick fucking James if I've got Garrison and Liara to come with me on a mission. Like, they were from my original team in the first game. I'm clearly going to choose them.
The DLC. That's the question.
Oh, I haven't got that. What I presume. How much do you have to pay for that Prothean dude?
It's like $10 or something.
Jesus, I'm not...
But that sounds super important.
That does sound super awesome, actually. Yeah. And
the Bombcast guys have been saying like there's certain times where he says things where it's like this is actually really like because it's obviously super deep story stuff because he's a fucking Prothean.
I know. Yeah. Okay.
Quite a lot of people are quite miffed about that. Why didn't it end up being like a Cerberus Network free DLC like they did for like Mass Effect 2 and that whatever that mercenary guy was?
Zahid.
Yeah.
This takes me back.
This takes me back.
This should be in the game, damn it. I don't know.
Well, they reckon, extra credits did the whole episode on DLC simply because this had come up and things like that, talking about, how day one DLC comes to be these days. And it's likely that it's probably made in the 6 to 8 weeks, at least finalised in the 6 to 8 weeks when a game has to be put forward for certification.
I can't believe that this would have been a fucking whole new character with voice and the entire new mission.
Sounds unlikely, doesn't it? Yeah. But in some cases, yeah, that's probably true. But in this case, yeah.
Especially because it's voice that is situationally relevant. It's not just like generic voice samples. It's like he talks about actual things that are happening at the time.
Do you think I could just buy this now?
Done as well. If you had him in your crew, he'd actually occasionally, in your squad, he'd occasionally actually jump in and do situational chat, not just be, they've seen us. Or whatever,
Do you think I could just buy this DLC now and it'll appear in the game, I suppose?
Yeah,
I think the idea is that it'll be in line,
yeah.
As long as you haven't gone too far in.
I don't think I've gone far enough for it to have disappeared.
See,
I'm sure it won't disappear ever, but it's just...
The problem Mass Effect 3 has, actually, is that, in Mass Effect 2, and then to a lesser extent 1, adding new content kind of made sense because it could coexist with the storyline or be played as an after event of the main story. You could go back and do it later and it would... Because they were spin-offs, essentially. They weren't totally relevant.
Because some of that stuff plays directly into 3, and it just... Because I didn't play Lair of the Shadow Broker. I think I bought it. I never got a chance to play it. Anyway, but immediately it's like, oh, Liara is the Shadow Broker now, or whatever, and that just happens. Like, so that's the
just
situation.
Reminds you of something that never happened.
By the by, this is the situation now. So, spoilers for Mass Effect 2 DLC there. But,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, but, you'll find out.
It will just happen in 3.
Yeah, immediately, basically the moment you... That's a bit weird. So the combat is the same as 2, I think, from what I can remember. I don't know what else is changed about it. It feels really clunky, but I think that may be just because I'm playing on a PC, and everything is bound to one button on the goddamn...
Oh, God.
It was the same in 2, but sprint and jump over obstacle or go around corner or attach to cover. It's all A, right?
Yeah.
So on the keyboard, by default that's on spacebar. So I changed it to left shift.
Yeah. Because sprinting is the one thing that you're likely to...
Yeah.
And pressing shift to attach to things, that makes sense in some ways too.
But it also opens doors, talks to people. It does everything. It's ridiculous. And, so I had to go through quite a few, fiddling around with it. And also the powers menu. I understand, on the PC, on the console, you get this big radial wheel, which is great for selecting with the
pad.
With the pad or whatever. But on the PC, you only get a tiny little display at the bottom of the screen, and you can use the mouse to click the powers and stuff.
Or number keys.
Yeah, or you can use the number, so you can drag them into number key slots. So I use number key slots most of the time. But then when you want to use the power, you want to use other people's powers or whatever, you really need to use the pause, powers thing.
Yeah.
And they're so tiny. I don't know why they didn't just have the huge fucking radial thing and have you be able to click the stuff. Because it's you have to drag your mouse down to this tiny little bar at the bottom. It's like a hotbar from World of Warcraft or something.
Yeah.
It's a bit strange. It works fine, and you can also change weapons that way. But because of course you can't use the number keys to change weapons because that's bound to all these quick shortcuts. And you've got quite a few weapons. Especially if you're playing soldier, you've got SMG, pistols, assault rifle, sniper rifle, all kinds of stuff.
And then your heavies.
Yeah, and you can't just switch between them with the number keys. So you can use the mouse wheel, but I found that really awkward.
I always find that awkward.
Yeah, so there is a toggle, but I don't know. So you toggle between 2 that you use. So that does work, but I don't know. So you have to kind of... I bound the pause menu thing to the space bar, so I think you hold it down or press it. And then, but you have to hover over your weapon and it kind of pops up to change to the other one. So you can't just quickly click, I want to change the pistol or whatever.
It's just like your weapon slot.
Yeah.
And then here's the weapons you can have in your weapon slot.
Exactly.
So given, you reckon they could have had a separate, have the 2 bars
there's
there.
Loads of
have
space.
A weapon bar and a...
Yeah.
Just don't play soldier.
Yeah, I guess.
And you'll only have 3 weapons at most to deal with,
Yeah,
unless they change
true.
systems since 2.
You're probably more reliant on the powers, but I suppose you can just shove them on the
buttons.
on the number keys. Yeah, it's all right, but I don't know. It's a bit.
It's like
It feels
changed
console.
since 2 then from what?
Do you still have to
Not
do
really.
the classic thing from 2 where at the start of every new zone, go through your guns and switch the ammo types?
Yeah. Well, you still have to activate the ammo power every time. Sometimes after cutscenes that'll have lost it for no reason, you have to reactivate the ammo power.
It's a classic.
That's the same as in 2.
It was great.
I really
too.
like the cryo ammo though. I always like that in 2. It's exactly the same here, but it's like freeze people, and then you have to switch to the other form if you want like anti-shields. So if it's shield dudes, you just change the mode.
I never really had a combination of ammo powers in my Mass Effect 2 player. I only ever had one.
Yeah.
It's like, cause you could only really have one equipped, I seem to remember, or something. Anyway, there was something about my
At the
character
time,
that meant
yeah.
I couldn't have more than one ammo power. So
But you got the other ammo powers from the other characters when you did their loyalty missions. That unlocked different ammo. Some of them had the ammo powers
Right,
attached.
Yeah, but I could only really have one on my guy at a time. If you know what I mean. I couldn't, like, use someone else's ammo power on my gun.
Well, it's because you could only choose... You chose one of your loyal team's powers as an extra power for Shepard. So if you didn't have an ammo power to start with, you'd only get one ammo power from adding the extra one. But if you had an ammo power, you basically had 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, combat pretty similar. It's frustrating at first. It takes a while to get used to if you haven't played it for a while because it's just not that intuitive with the sticky cover and it's also dodge. It does everything, that button. So if you don't press it in the right ways and hold it in the right ways, you can get in a right mess and get taken out quite easily. It's not hard, but it's easy to accidentally die because you've done something stupid. So it's kind of weird. But yeah. That's the usual stuff. But the strength of it is like the writing is still really good of like individual and the performances like of the voice actors are really good and just I mean obviously the animation now looks a bit dated when you compare it. If you're actually looking at the way people's mouths move, it looks a bit odd, especially compared to LA Noire, obviously. So it's like that's a bit weird. But you've got it's just a ridiculous nostalgia fest. It's like constantly, hey, it's Morden, oh, it's Rex, and he's talking about...
I think that was possibly a bad move on their part. I know they wanted to make the choices and the consequences play more of a role, but I think it was too easy in Mass Effect 2 to save everyone, if you ask me.
Yeah,
It's
probably.
Like, when I play through it, I'm going to have this, as you say, this endless nostalgia thing going on, and that really doesn't make it, I know what you mean. I'm going to sit there and think perhaps some of the key characters would have made sense, but
Just like
it's like no one wants to see Jacob. Please tell me Jacob's not.
I haven't seen it.
Well, you should have killed him off in Mass Effect 2 then.
But I wanted the achievement for saving everyone.
You do that, and then you just reload a save, and then you bring up the spreadsheet that tells you who dies when you go through when you send different people
through different areas. Yeah.
Make sure you kill the people you don't like.
Yeah, that's cool. I was annoyed the first time I did Mass Effect 2 ending, the only person that died was Morden, and he was the only one I cared about really seeing the cameo of in the sequel, because he's the most awesome, has the most awesome
That was
dialogue.
the reason I took him into the last fight.
Yeah.
I wasn't certain.
Yeah.
I was like, I better take him and Tally with me into the actual battle, even though they're completely fucking useless to fight the Terminator thing.
And lo and behold, he does turn up in 3, and he has quite a big role from what I've seen so far.
Yeah.
So
I wonder what they're going to replace him with. Yeah.
Well, that's what I don't know.
Some other.
The only one I know, I presume that if Kelly Chambers survives, you get her as your woman who tells you when your message is. Because I've got a replacement woman, and she's like a black British girl, I think, from the East End or something.
Right, come now.
Yeah,
I want to say, Beth, here's your messages.
Yeah, So, but she's an alright character, so I'm wondering whether, like, there are actually, because presumably they'll have mostly the same lines, the substitute characters.
Probably.
But will they have their own characterization?
But it's just like it doesn't even make sense for like if you think about Morden. It's like he's this like uber scientist or whatever. He's like basically one of a kind almost, and it's like how are you going to have a guy who fills that role again?
Yeah, because he'll be promoted to some shitty admin role. Like he'll be like, I'm lead scientist now. I don't actually do any science. I tell scientists how to do science.
But his scientific work in this Mass Effect 3 is vital.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they. Yeah, I mean, The most interesting thing of the story so far, mission-wise and stuff, is the thread I'm on at the moment is payoff for the whole genophage thing, which is great because that's been a good... I've always thought that was an interesting storyline. And because in 1, I was always like, well, the genophage is obviously evil and this is, And then in 2, you get a bit more with Morden. You get a bit of seeing why it happened and, what the reasoning was and all this.
And the Krogan home planet as well.
And the Krogan home planet, Tachanka and all that. And now you're back to whatever. I won't say what's happening, but you can imagine that, there's finally a payoff for all that genophage stuff, which I haven't finished yet, so I can't tell. I mean, but they are quite discreet mission-y. It's not like Skyrim, basically. It's not really an RPG anymore. I mean, really, I don't know when it was. Do you even have
points in skills or anything?
Well, now you've got points and skills just like in 2. So you level up and then you can spend your points along the bars.
Yeah,
and you can unlock new skills, like new type of ammo power or whatever it is, or warp or whatever it is. So that's the same. But now you've also got what I kind of argued for in 2. They've now put in where it has the weapon mod stuff.
Yeah.
So you've got 2 slots on your weapons for modifying the weapons. Was that in 2? No.
Because they got rid of that whole system from 1 where you actually had slots and you picked up a shit ton of random crap.
Yeah. So now you have... it's not like 1 where you've got the ridiculous inventory. It's like 2, but they've added in the ability to add the mods to your weapons and stuff.
Yeah, but...
So it's a bit weird.
I mean, it's like 2 has you just buy upgrades and they're sort of permanent.
Yeah. Well, with this, you can swap them in and out, so you actually get weapons benches. Yeah. And you can actually go in and say, I want these silencers.
But presumably those aren't random or anything. It's just like, if you go to a certain shop, there'll always be that thing.
Yeah, you can buy them.
And you don't find them, apart from, unless you find them in a specific place, and they'll always be there every time you go.
Yeah, sometimes you find them in missions, obviously, just in crates and stuff. Yeah. But there's not much cratage in this game. No, at least in 2, there were quite a lot of little... things with credits in, but I haven't seen much in 3. They've really cut down on the kind of loot factor.
Because there basically wasn't any loot in 2. It's like, with more credits.
Yeah, so now it's like...
or shitty minerals.
It's really cut down. It's much more action.
So many minerals.
And because it was a bit disjointed in 2, I was like, action mission, there's a safe that I could hack into and get some credits. And then
the hacking mini-game the same?
I haven't seen the hacking mini game.
I've taken it completely
out. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen anything.
Kind of suck.
Yeah. But now, if you visit a merchant and they have these upgrades, you can buy them there, or for a 10% markup, you can just buy them online from your ship. So it's like, I needed that, but I can't be able to go back there. I'll just buy it here.
Do you need to have seen it for it to appear on your ship?
I think you do. You need to have seen it, so that you know.
They've seen this.
It gives you a list of shops, basically. And you can, when you're on your ship in the engineering bay, and you can and they were so we changed the design of the ship slightly. So we put the weapons bays and everything down on where you get your equipment and stuff, down on where the shuttles are, just like in the original Normandy.
Yeah.
Because that actually makes sense, because you're going out on your mission, so you go down there. And she's like, I don't know what those Cerberus people were thinking. We actually put it the right way. Anyway. So I'm playing on the PC, the load pauses are non-existent. So I can just click through the levels of my ship and because on 360 it was oh god, this fucking lift animation again. And for me it was
the incredibly tiny lift.
Yeah.
It goes up half a minute.
So I just click and it's I'm in the captain's quarters now. But for some reason, as you have probably heard on the Bombcast or whatever, there's this loading pause between the war room, which is behind the CIC, where you always end up after missions.
Sure.
That's like a new console where it tells you your readiness, galactic readiness, so the bar that you need to get up before you finish the game.
It's in the original, it was the place where you, after the end of the mission, they'd do a scene where everyone was sitting on chairs and then the council. And then in 2, it became that weird, table that also turned into the Elusive Man hologram thing.
So now you've got the war room, and just off that, there's a little communicator where you talk with... they seem to have redone the graphics for the hologram talk, talk.
Well, the Elusive Man hologram thing was kind of special. That was his...
That's true.
His personal design or something.
That was different. But now there's a cool effect which has a kind of grid over people's faces, but it kind of warbles.
Well,
It's
it
kinda nice.
had a bit of a scan line effect before.
So maybe it's quite similar. But anyway, you have to walk. If you walk between the war room and the CIC, there's a load pause, but they've hidden it by having this weird sort of security screen where you have to wait for it to pass over you before it'll let you walk forwards. And they're like two people there who are like always have little tidbits of like chatter about what's going on. But it's like, and they're like, oh, the reason for this is because like in this ship before got attacked by collectors and we need like more security on this ship clearly in case it gets attacked again. It's like, no, you're covering a load pause and it probably doesn't exist because I'm playing on the PC.
It's also not securing an actual important part of the ship.
No.
Really.
Well, it depends.
Or between two important... It's
two
like,
vices
not it's guarding the outside of the important bit, it's guarding between two separate important bits.
Yeah, I suppose. It's better than nothing, I guess. Anyway.
It depends how important quantum communicators are, or whatever they called them.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just a set of, like 2 of discrete missions. But I liked the way 2 had those loyalty missions and they had their own thing going on. With this, it's like there's a consistent theme of we need dudes for this fight. There's not like, oh, what's the backstory behind Jack's weird, like, biotic abilities and all this? What's this weird
asylum about?
Or like, oh, what's going on with the Tally's fleet? And like, they were like different stories and they were quite big. That one had a courtroom drama. Yeah, exactly. Borgin in space. But this is like, oh, right, okay, we need more dudes. And not that they're not cool. I mean, I just did one with the Rachni. Hey, guess who's back? That decision from Mass Effect 1 actually freaking carries over, thank God. Back again.
What would happen if they all died?
What?
In that mission?
I really don't know. I mean, that...
It'd have been replaced with something else, like some other annoying enemy from Days Gone.
Yeah. And that was like a clear homage to Alien, basically. It had, Rachni, but it had pods on the ground.
Well, they did that in 2.
And a flamethrower. They
did have pods in one of the games, I think. Or was that Rachni? It might have been Rachni.
Probably.
Or another random
what
alien
else would
thing.
It be? Yeah. It's like, okay, this is a whole alien mission. But yeah. And then they've integrated this weird multiplayer component into the game. And I think you can tell which missions they are because they say N7 in front of them or whatever. But it's like basically horde mode.
Yeah.
So
I figured the DLC that they'd do would probably be more tied into that than single player components. But...
Well, they seem to have stuck a few of these horde mode missions around, and then they've got sequences leading into them. So it's like, oh, we're doing this for this reason or whatever, and they're fully voiced and animated, everything. And then it's just a kind of a horde mode mission that you have to do. You just have to fight waves of enemies basically that appear, but they're quite small, compact levels, but they're quite labyrinthine. So the enemies just sort of spawn where you just came from or around the corner. It's quite hard to tell where they're about to come from, and it gets a bit desperate and then you just get picked up. You have to get back to the shuttle and escape, basically. So it's often a bit of a mad dash to get to the end and go, oh, I'm out of here. But it's obviously copy-paste content in some ways. Well, it is from the multiplayer, right? They're just using the multiplayer maps. Just sticking them into the single player.
I think that is the multiplayer. I don't think there is anything else apart from that.
Oh, right. Can you just opt when you go in there to join people? Well, I haven't seen that option at all, but maybe that's how you do it. Interesting. I suppose you have to do it to get more readiness, right?
Yeah.
Or supposed to. I don't know.
You supposedly don't have to, but you do. So.
Right. Okay. I will check that out, because if that actually integrates multiplayer, it might be more fun than just doing, against
some AIs.
Yeah, with some AIs. So yeah, I might check that out. But yeah, overall.
Wait, so when you go and do it, are you playing as Shepard still?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because that's different. Because in the multiplayer, you don't. In the multiplayer variants, you don't play with any of your squad. You play with a separate team.
Okay, that must be different then.
And you can sort of level up your guys.
Maybe the storyline versions are like training, basically.
Yeah, I expect they are training for the real thing.
Well, I'm sure it does use the same areas.
Yeah.
In that case.
I'm sure it does.
Yeah, it might come back later or something. So we've defended it once. You guys can now handle it. Bye.
Yeah, but they always give some sort of story reason for it or whatever. So, yeah. Liking it, enjoying it. I think 2's probably still going to be better. But That wouldn't stop me playing 3. I think it's good so far.
I'm still sort of perhaps that I have issues with the story in 2. I just don't think it's quite as interesting or as twisty as Mass Effect 1 was. So I'm hoping 3 will sort of turn that a bit. Well, actually, no. From what you've been saying so far, 3 sounds like it's going to follow the same formula as 2, where it's like we know what we've got to do. Let's do it.
Well, I don't know. I think there could easily be twists. I mean, I hope there are. I mean, I've heard that something big happens halfway through or something. So I have no idea what that could be. So I've not got anywhere near that. But I mean, female shepherd is awesome. Still, she's still pretty cool, and I'm enjoying it. But I think, given a choice, I'd probably rather play Skyrim. So much more freedom to do. Yeah.
But at least there's a limit to how long Mass Effect will last.
Yeah.
Like Skyrim, where you play it for millions of hours.
That's the thing. It's like Skyrim. Mass Effect is more of a sort of there's an ending. These are missions. Do them, and then get. Where Skyrim is like, wow, I can go anywhere. I can do anything. It's a proper RPG. It's like
Mass Effect isn't an RPG anymore. It's.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I don't know. It depends what you like. Extra credits have a very good way of trying to define genres like this, and it's like what the core values of the game are. And it's like the only reason Mass Effect isn't a shooter, I suppose, is because the shooting isn't the core value. The core value is the story, which is definitely a hallmark of an RPG.
But I don't know how much interesting variation in dialogue there is anymore, because for me it's like, there's usually 2 options. There's investigate, there's 3. There's positive or whatever. Paragon is up in the top right, Renegade is bottom right, and more information is left, and occasionally you get more than that, but really it's like you just kind of default to doing Paragon unless you're feeling annoyed. I don't know, there's not much. It's not like LA Noire where like you really have to sweat over the choices. Well,
does Paragon and Renegade still matter? That's the question. Because it was that was always the problem, especially in Mass Effect 1, where it's like,
I don't know,
because you were trying to build up the points to unlock the thing,
powers or whatever.
Yeah, you couldn't just like do whatever you want depending on the situation. I'm
just doing what I want. It doesn't seem to be making any difference. I can see the points, but it doesn't seem to go towards anything particularly. I just
is there a bar somewhere that's counting it? It's still on your character screen, isn't it?
Yeah, on my character
around
screen.
the side.
Wait, what did they really give you in the first one? They just because that was just how much you'd scored over the entirety of the game, wasn't it? And then eventually you unlocked Charm and Intimidate, but I don't think it was attached to your actual.
It was
Paragon and Renegade points. So I just sort of.
I'm pretty sure it was attached to Paragon and Renegade points.
My limits, like because I've been playing Mass Effect 1 a little bit. I haven't played it much at all since last time I mentioned it, but my Charm and Intimidate level, maximum possible level, has just been increasing in line with each other. And it's like, and I've been playing mostly Paragon.
Well, there's achievements, of course.
Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah, maybe it's for achievements, but it's like,
there
that's
was
no
for the
fun,
first
though.
game, yeah. They didn't bring that back for the second, I don't think.
I can't remember what they did in 2.
If you just always choose one option though, there's no fun there, is there really? You need to occasionally feel like you're contributing to the story by occasionally choosing the Renegade choice just because somebody annoys you. Otherwise it's like, is it your shepherd or is it just somebody who always does the right thing or always is
again, that's
polite?
That's another thing that moves it away from role playing.
Exactly. It's just
it moves it towards the Japanese form of role playing, not the Western form of role playing.
Sure, yeah. It's like, I don't know.
They screwed themselves with that system, basically. Like, having points attached to this was their first mistake. And they did that in Mass Effect 1, and then that fucked them for the other 2 games.
The thing is, it was cool in KOTOR, where it originally came from, because it's like...
Well, it makes a lot more sense.
The Renegade was evil, properly evil, because it was Imperial, it was Sith,
Dark side.
Right? And if you did enough evil things, which were truly evil in some cases, then you got fucking Force Lightning unlocked. I mean, that's a brilliant, payoff, isn't it? So it made so much more sense in the game,
to stick to a side.
Yeah, to stick to a side, and
then you're still sticking to a side. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's true. So for me, this is actually good, I suppose, because there isn't much one way or the other. So I just get to choose based on how I'm feeling about the story and the character in the scene or whatever. But it sounds
like the choices
limited.
don't make much impact now, anyway, because it's endgame.
It doesn't seem so. I don't know. I usually pick Paragon, and then occasionally I get pissed off. I don't know. Apparently, the Renegade actions are pretty awesome, but they were pretty awesome in 2 anyway. Like knocking people out the window.
The interrupts.
Yeah, the interrupts. Yeah, they're still there, and they're fine. That's all good stuff. But yeah, it's just the scenes are well written and quite good out themselves. So the ability to add to them by choosing a binary choice between, I don't know. It's because they've kind of weirdly tried to give more character to Shepard, which is a bit strange, seeing as Shepard's character is yours.
Yeah, right? He's you.
Yeah. So the fact that
your choices should define. Well, they should be characterization on the choices, not necessarily on.
Yeah. So I don't know.
But that's a tricky thing about it because it goes between the 2 dramatic levels. It's like truth and doubt in LA Noire, isn't it? They're 2 wildly different things sometimes, and the problem is you end up mixing them. And that happened a bit in the previous 2 games. You could suggest a renegade-y type option one time, and he'll get really quite angry, and then in the next phrase he'll be like,
yeah, they do that better, I would say, in Mass Effect, but it's not so bad. Usually, there's a kind of feeling.
You should fucking help us or save the galaxy, or you'll fucking die. So how's the wife?
Yeah, there's a lot of that. And there's a lot of ridiculous, I'm the arbiter of all decisions on the Citadel. I remember you two, you couple from the first game who were trying to decide on having a baby. I'm just going to take a minute out of my day trying to save the entire universe from imminent destruction to just say, yeah.
Maybe you should have a baby now.
Yeah, maybe you should. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of dumb.
Make babies.
Yeah.
I'm Commander Shepard. This is my favourite way to make babies on the station.
The thing is, in Skyrim, you really do make your own story, and that's evidenced by the amount we end up talking about it. But the thing is, there's no good characters in Skyrim, whereas Mass Effect is full of good characters. Yeah. Name a good character in Skyrim.
Well, I was just trying to think of... I mean, presumably the ones the important, the secondary, like maybe some of the Thieves Guild guys. I quite like the main Thieves Guild guy's ridiculous accent.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know if that makes him a good character.
Do you know what his name is?
Brynjolf or something.
Oh, okay.
Something Skyrim-y.
Fair enough. Is he the elf you see in the first village?
No, he's not an elf. He's a human.
Alright. Okay, anyway, so that's probably Mass Effect 3 for the time being. I shall report in further. Any other questions about said game?
No. We shall wait.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
For divine judgment.
Robert Kemp, what have you been playing?
Rage! Oh, in all honesty, I haven't had much game time in the last few weeks, so it's
somehow.
I know. I've been busy.
Yeah.
It's, job hunting.
Busy not having a job. It's amazing.
Absolutely, job hunting is
anyway. I'm never busy and I don't have a job. I don't operate on the same scale. I do.
Hard. No, you don't. Come on.
Just the way I do it somehow only takes a day every week or 2 days every week. But Rob has more options, it has to be said.
I hardcored it, bitches.
Yeah.
It's going to be funny. You have to compare how long it took for you to get a job with how long it's taken Zach. Or, yeah.
Very different industries. I will say that,
2 weeks versus
3.
How many years?
I don't know.
When
6.
did you leave Loughborough?
I don't know. I can't remember that. It's always a problem when I'm trying to write down my school dates and university dates. I'm like, I can't really remember what year that was. Jesus Christ! And then it's even worse if they want you to put a month in.
With the exception of the
July.
I was about to say, with the exception of the post office, it's going to be nearly 6 years.
6 years, yeah. Fair enough. Anyway, so our 6-year professional video games correspondent.
Not playing any useful games.
Not playing any useful games. So Rage.
I finished Rage. Completed the campaign anyway. Annoyingly, I was trying to be fairly completionist with it, and it seems I've missed quite a bit of stuff. I didn't get all the... I wasn't able... I talked about the playing card minigame, I think, a little bit before, where you...
Right.
Where it's an incredibly basic sort of collectible card game, but it's kind of cool that it's there. I seem to have missed quite a lot of cards because I couldn't take down there's basically 6 levels of difficulty in that, and I couldn't take down the top 2 levels. It was just too hard.
Yeah.
I don't have the cards. I don't have the power.
I remember
so
there was a card game in Knights of the Republic, wasn't there? Bazak. Do you remember that?
Was that really a card game? I thought there was dice.
It was kind of dice, but you could pay... It was a bit like blackjack or something, but you could kind of pay more for
better cards that you could have options on. So it was like a fixed version of a completely unfair version of blackjack. I think that's right. Anyway.
Okay.
And wasn't there card games in Final Fantasy?
Oh yeah, always. I think they made like an iOS version of Triple Triad from FF8 fairly recently. I might be lying on that. I seem to remember there's been a lot of talk about Triple Triad for some reason recently. I'll look into that.
Maybe it's in Final Fantasy 13 too, or
yeah, possibly. It's. As I say, so there's stuff I couldn't do, and it did sort of tell you right at the end of the game. It's like, oh yeah, whenever you see like a vent, they're like secret sewers you can get into, and it like tells you this right at the end of the game. So it's like, I'm like, fuck, I'm going to explore the entire wasteland again to try and find these tiny vent things that I can crawl into, and there's probably only like 2 of or something. I kind of would have preferred that some of that stuff would have been told to me, revealed to me earlier. And it's like, and the ending's a bit lame, really. You go through this, spoiler alert, you basically go through this, the whole story is a sort of lead up to a revolution, kind of, in a typical style. You get found by the sort of normal inhabitants known as settlers, I suppose, in this game, and they have a problem with the authority. It's never really made clear to you why they don't like the authority. The authority do seem to be trying to control things, but it's never really made clear to you why they're bad. Apart from the fact that there's evidence that they're perhaps mutating settlers to be like a mutated army or something. It's like, yeah, I suppose that's kind of bad, but it's...
well, in a post-apocalyptic wasteland, it seems fairly reasonable.
Well, they might have a lot of already mutated guys to work with.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a resource. So that's a little bit funny, and the story builds and builds and builds, and then gets to this point. This is the moment. This is what we've been waiting for. You need to signal the start of the revolution, kind of stuff. And it's like, and actually, that is the end thing. It's a solo mission into the capital of the authority, which doesn't seem that particularly well guarded. and then you go to a big satellite dish and send a message. That's it. It's like, where is the revolution itself? It's like the game ends with, like, the idea is that your arc or something that came out of the ground contained information on where the other arcs would be.
Right.
And so you send a message to make all the other arcs come up or something, and then you get to and build an army of the nanotrite powered guys and whatever, blah 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 blah. Mm-hmm. But it just seemed a bit of a crazy anticlimax. Like, the end of the story is you've started the revolution. It's like, can I not take part in it? Where's the big epic battle? Where sort of like, it's obvious sequel bait.
Really?
I think, perhaps.
Are they going to get a sequel?
I don't know. It's not really in ID's nature to sort of, with Doom perhaps aside and Quake 4
they're
aside,
working on
I
Doom
suppose.
4, I thought.
Yeah, maybe.
Anyway.
I don't know, maybe they're sort of planning it a long time ahead as
maybe.
they sort of jump about series, but it's... I don't know. It just seemed a bit weird, a bit of an anticlimactic ending. It just ended like any other level in the game, and it's like, it's a bit Borderlandsy, really.
Oh, well, there you go.
The cliche run, the comparisons run deep. So after finishing the game, I thought, I still think all the weapons are good, but I still think the gunplay is good right till the end. You get a gun that can fire BFG ammo for the last level,
right?
Which has a similar effect as it used to, which is kind of cool.
Wait, what? It's like you can fire BFG ammo, or like you just find ammo like it's like, this is BFG ammo.
Or you get like a pulse gun, which is this big minigun type thing, and it can fire like BFG ammo, and like. It's kind of a halfway house between the Quake 2 and Quake 3 type stuff. It doesn't have the big balls with lasers coming out of it, but they're still fairly large projectiles that do fuck tons of damage.
The Quake 3 BFG was lame compared to the Quake 2 one. That was clearly awesome. It had fucking chrome exhaust pipes on the goddamn gun. It was
and a
awesome.
handle on top that you had to yank to make it fire.
Giant green slow-moving balls with green lasers coming out of it.
I know.
It was freaking the best thing ever.
The Gib steak.
The whole point of it was a smartphone, but
yeah.
You weren't meant to be aiming.
No.
It was just like fire it into the room.
Yeah.
Find a fight, fire it into it.
That was brilliant.
You will win without being involved.
Whereas you had to aim the Quake 3 BFG.
Yeah.
What's the point of a big fucking gun? You have to aim the thing. Anyway.
But yeah, it was just a nice nod, I think.
Yeah.
Say hello. Yeah, I don't know. I found it a bit anticlimactic. Yes, there turns out there's a mutant army that you sort of casually fight on your way, but they're not difficult. They're just mutants with a blue gun.
I guess the strength is in fairly close quarters room combat, really.
Yeah, it does that. It does that pretty good.
Yeah.
I found that there are a couple of weapons you get towards the end of the game that sounded like they could be really cool, except when I tried to use them, they really didn't. They really weren't. And like, for instance, you gain for your crossbow mind control darts that you can fire into an enemy, and then you literally take control of them for a while.
Ooh.
Which sounds cool in principle, except I never got the fucker to work. You get very limited ammo. You get like 11 shots, I think, throughout the entire game.
Right.
And you get like 5 to begin with, and you have to craft the additional 6 or something.
Right.
So they're incredibly rare. You fire them, and the first few people I fired them into, they just sort of died immediately. It's like, I didn't really get to take control of them. They just sort of died. Great. Well, that was quite useful, I suppose, but a bit overpowered for what I was trying to achieve. Yeah. I could have just killed that guy with a sniper rifle. But then the other problem I had is that the next few times when I tried to use them, I fired one into a guy, which immediately ruined the stealth of the scenario, meaning they shot me while I was gaining control of the other guy, meaning that the point was completely lost, so I just went back to a big fucking gun and blew them all up. And it's like, it's a good idea, it just sort of, I never found an opportunity where it worked.
That's in the kind of tradition of, isn't it, of quite useless weapon ideas.
Yeah. So, well, I never came across... I also missed a couple of like game mechanics as well, because there's achievements attached to using sentry bots and sentry turrets, which you do fight against during the campaign on occasion, but, the tiny little spidery things that walk around and have miniguns in them. Like miniguns. But I never found the recipes on how to make them. It's like it didn't seem to come up as an important... Like, pretty much everything else has a storyline attached to it. Like, remote control bomb cars. There's a story mission you have to do regarding those. And you can go back to power them up so they're slightly more powerful and have an EMP effect as well. But sentry bots and sentry turrets, I seem to have completely missed those and don't know where I could have got them. It's a bit of a shame. Obvious achievement missing there. But yeah, still, as I say, the gunplay is solid. It just needed a bit of surrounding story would have been nice and a bit more. Just a bit more of the atmosphere-y type stuff. The core mechanics are fine. Just sort of make your world a bit more interesting.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's not really its
forte. Yeah. No, it never has been.
They're trying to do it better.
Yeah, it is a step up. Don't get me wrong, their previous story efforts are always terrible. But it's like, as a general rule, like Quake 2, like going by the Quake 2 and Quake 4 storyline, dear God, that's awful.
Well,
it's like it's kind of a nice setup, but then there's nothing else to it, is it? It's like, there's Strongs. You're human. Kill the Strongs.
Yeah, that was rubbish.
Done. Well, except in Quake 4 where you kind of become strong.
Didn't that happen in Quake 2? No.
No. In Quake 4 you kind of get, like...
Strongified.
Yeah, there's a whole sequence involving it. Quake 2 didn't really have sequences.
Well, no. But I do remember the factories and stuff in Quake 2.
Yeah.
With all the GIB stakes.
Oh, yeah, the GIB factory. Yeah, that was cool. Yeah. So it's good. And sort of like following on from that, I did try let's see what the multiplayer's like then. Let's see what the controversial lack of shooting multiplayer is like and try some car combat. There's nobody playing it.
No.
Not one person playing the car combat game. I couldn't get into, and no one was ever found. Whenever I tried a quick match, I was the server. Fuck. That means there's nobody else there or no games I can join. Yeah, so it's completely empty. You can't try it. You just can't.
Yeah.
There is this co-op thing that I didn't actually know existed until I went and looked in the multiplayer stuff. And so I'd seen these things in the achievement list called Legends of the Wasteland, but I didn't really peg what they were. But they're actually sort of co-op scenarios that are in separate areas, I think, from the campaign, or at least they borrow assets but aren't the same type areas. So they're kind of unique in their own way. And they play out a bit like Left 4 Dead style levels where you just progress through killing stuff on the way. And they're not bad, in all honesty. It's got like a multiplayer style scoring system as well, so the more you do without someone like getting injured or stuff, the bigger the score will be at the end of the level. I did suffer some quite bad lag issues with it, in fairness, during my time with it. I got into one game with one other person, and it seemed to behave okay. You can play them solo, but you don't get any of the achievements or anything attached to it when you do so. It specifically says when you do it, it's like, you can play these, but you won't gain anything from it. Try playing them in actual co-op.
Yeah.
And it's, they seem to work okay, but as I say, no one's playing it. Well, this one guy was playing it. They got one game in, and we didn't even make it through the round because we died.
Oh no.
So yeah, it's there's stuff there probably on Xbox, and there's probably a bit more population. There always is with these things. I don't know what it is. There's something about PC games that just don't seem to get the critical mass for maintaining any of these things for very long.
Yeah.
So you're probably better off on Xbox probably has a bit more of a chance, I suppose, to do something with it. But don't expect much. Shame.
So that's Rage.
Yeah, I'm done with that. I'm probably not going to go back to it, I don't think. I don't know. I could play it on a harder difficulty, but I think I've seen most of what the game has to offer. What I mean? It's like I don't think I'll gain anything from playing it any harder.
Sure, yeah.
And I only played it in normal mode. It wasn't difficult in normal mode, in all honesty. You could probably make it, at least step it up to, not Nightmare, but whatever it calls the level below that. Like, hard, I suppose.
Hardcore, isn't it? Or something?
Yeah, something like that. You could probably knock it up by one notch for most players, and it'll be still fine. So that's Rage. That's 20 gigs of space I can probably save on my hard disk. It's mega textures. So now I'm moving on to Duke Nukem Forever. Abused.
Yes. Duke Nukem Forever. Oh god. Yes. So
I thought I'd get that out of the way.
How's the Duke?
Just if I played a relatively good game, I would move on to something that's generally criticised. Like, get it out of the way before I move on to Saints Row.
Yeah, sure.
Actually, in all honesty, it's not
I'd
as...
be surprised if Naomi preferred Duke Nukem to Saints Row.
I don't think she knows about Duke Nukem's past, and the boob-slapping ways or the pregnator enemy design. Yeah.
It's in this game.
That I haven't got to yet, in fairness. There's not been any nudity so far, apart from in statue form. Oh no, that's a lie. There's one point where you get to... on your pinball table for some that you played near the start of the game called Balls of Steel. Mm-hmm. There's there's sort of like ball save lanes on the right side, like called, I forget what they're called, but they've got pictures of boobies on the on the thing. Right. So, that's the level this game's going for. It's like it's weird because it's in one hand not really that bad, but in the other hand kind of terrible at the same time.
Okay.
It's a hard one to judge, really, because the enemy AI is dumb. I mean, really dumb. They don't really even move. They just kind of stand in one place half the time and sort of shoot at you while you walk around them. And like, dodge the bullet, shotgun to the face, kind of stuff. It's like, but on the other hand, the weapons kind of feel alright, a bit meaty. Shotgun has a bit of kick to it. The pistol even feels not too bad. The alien weapon that you get early on in the game feels kind of pants, but it's the actual sort of like traditional human style chunky metal weapons. So they're fine. They behave okay. The game is obviously trying to be quite ambitious in that quite early on you get a turret section. Following on from that, you get to drive a little remote control car. Following on from that, you're in a remote control car whilst inexplicably tiny. Right. You get shrunk, and the game doesn't explain why.
No, of course not.
And then there's like this particle thingy that like, of course, the Earth Defense Force has that you can make you big again. And it's none of it is explained.
Okay.
And that's kind of where I left it off. There's there's jetpacky guys that you can shoot. The enemy AI at one point steps it up a notch by making sure they stand in one place until you shoot them. At which point they teleport somewhere else. You have to go shoot them again.
Great.
It's the AI is not good, but it's like the graphics aren't terrible either. They're kind of a weird mismatch between like last gen and new gen. Like the characters don't look that great. For instance, like. They don't animate particularly well. But then there's some, like the physics of the pool table, for instance, there's no physics.
No.
It's like, don't bother with that shit. It is quite funny when you pop the white ball and he just sort of goes, fucking hell, and things like that, you know, and the typical sort of Duke reaction is, there's still a strange appeal in that. I don't, it sounds dumb, but there kind of is. It's kind of weird. What Duke says is sometimes okay. But it's just... There are some I have issues, and that these are probably PC related, where sometimes your actual movement kind of judders a bit.
Right.
So, you know, when you're just moving around the game, it sort of has a weird stutter and doesn't seem to be particularly smooth. I also have... damn, my mind has just gone blank on the point I was making.
Weird stutters are kind of the default of your system, aren't they?
Maybe, but not quite.
I don't
like
think that would be.
You know, Rage was fine. Rage is much more intensive than.
Yeah,
Duke
I wouldn't have
is.
thought Duke Nukem would have been that much of a stress on your system.
No, I can run it at max with no problem. It does on occasion. It has a sort of that, like. Do you remember View Bob?
Yeah.
From old games that no game really has anymore. It's back. There's a bit of view bobbing, and it is like it immediately kind of feels a bit odd. It's like, oh, I wasn't expecting that.
I don't know if it's been away that long. I'm fairly sure Fallout 3 had View Bob. It had a slider or something. Or at least there's a game that I played in not very many years ago that still had a View Bob slider.
I know, but it's not really... You know what I mean? It's not really done anymore, is it? The kind of movement is generally fairly level, with a tiny bit of... But it's quite noticeably sort of, you know, bouncy in this one, like the old school. Which is both kind of cool and kind of disorientating at first.
Boing, boing, boing.
But there's reasonably frequent loading pauses as well, which aren't massively long, but they're there. And it seemed a few impossible puzzles in places where, like, I'm sure there's a couple of the ego things that I literally just could not figure out how to bring one object to one area to get it to sort of work. And it's like, that could just be me being silly and not missing something, but I did have a fairly good look and before getting bored and going, no, I can't do that. But yeah, it's alright. It's supposedly not that long, so I will play it through. And apparently the multiplayer is not going to be too bad either, so I will give that a look.
If there's anyone playing that.
If there's anyone playing it, yeah. But yeah, I don't think it's the worst thing ever so far. You know,
right.
It's not brilliant, but it's not terrible. Not by any stretch. It's probably going to get a lot more indecent when I get to the strip club. And, probably the standards will drop at that point.
Oh, dear me.
That's my wager.
I think that's a fairly safe bet.
I've only really seen the pig cops, like, so far, the only real sort of, the only other than the sort of normal grunts you used to get from Duke Nukem 3D, the pig cops are in there, but they're not really wearing the full pig cop uniform. They're kind of topless and act a bit like fiends from Doom, that they sort of charge towards you in melee. So it's like they're a bit different now. Maybe the pig cops got demoted or something after the last failure. And
it's like, would there even have been any explanation for why they were cops in the first place, apart from it being a stupid fun?
Well, that probably was the reason at the time.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's what I meant. It's like, have they invented some kind of story now that they have, they have the capability to have a story now?
We have the technology.
Of why aliens are invading and pissing.
No, there isn't really any story. Basically, like, the game starts with the aliens having been, like, sitting in their spaceships above the planet for a while, having not done anything, just sort of hanging there. And, diplomatic efforts are currently coming to nothing because they're getting no response and stuff like that. Until you have a casino basically called, I forget what it's called. It's like Lady Killer or something is the name of your casino. And there's you spot a few aliens in it basically, and then immediately go, despite being told by the president and like your military general or something, it's like, don't get involved, Duke. We don't want to repeat it last time. And it's like, you of course see them in your building and go, fuck that shit, I'm killing them all. And it's like, and then obviously there's a turret in your building, you just go and start shooting down a mothership.
Clearly.
Just like that.
There's just cause a massive
Has to start an enormous fight. obviously there was something suspicious going on anyway, that they were, like, investigating they were in your tower for some reason. But, yeah, so there is no story.
Okay.
So far.
Weird.
They've stolen your girlfriends.
Actually.
That's as much as we know. Yeah.
So that's Duke Nukem.
That is pretty much Duke Nukem. That is everything I have to say at this point in time. Oh, I did find it interesting as well that there's a 2-weapon system now that people sort of talked about at the time, like, which is a bit odd for Duke, I suppose. Even Rage didn't have a 2-weapon system. You could carry your entire inventory. But, like, they put an option in at one point to say, like, expand your inventory so you can carry 4 weapons at a time.
That got
instead.
patched in, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
they got added later to try and make it a bit more old school.
More Dukey.
Yeah. But I've been playing it with the
2.
with the intended 2 options so far and haven't had a problem.
Mm.
But it'll probably get a bit more tricky later on when you're perhaps having to juggle what weapon you actually want, kind of like in Halo style, where it's like, am I actually going to want this?
Yeah.
Or...
Some weapons have limited utility, don't they?
Yeah.
They're good in certain...
Well, I think the main thing that a lot of people were complaining about is how there was supposedly an achievement for going through the entire game with a pistol, which basically made you only have 1 weapon slot, because you had to keep the pistol in the other one for the entire game.
But the pistol's not the first weapon you get.
Well, I assume it's an achievement from when you get it to the end of the game, or whatever.
Well, they might have removed that on Steam. I don't remember seeing that one on the list, but I will double check. Nor am I going to go for it either.
No.
It'd be a bad review strategy.
And a not much fun gameplay strategy,
No, probably
necessarily.
Also, it's impossible to kill bosses with the pistol. Like, there's a note that comes up saying you can only defeat bosses with explosives.
Okay.
So that seems like maybe it's impossible, literally.
Well, you've got the other slot, right? You just have to carry the pistol
Yeah.
to the end.
Oh, I see. You don't have to necessarily use it as long as you have it, you mean?
Yeah.
But that still makes it a 1-slot game.
It's still considerably easier than moving that freaking garden gnome all the way to the end of Half-Life Episode 2.
Maybe.
And putting it in the space rocket.
Or Left 4 Dead 2.
What do you have to do in that one again?
It's another gnome.
All right.
You go into the carnival and there's a stupid carnival game. First of all, you have to win the carnival game,
Right.
which unlocks the prize container, which has a gnome in it,
The gnome.
and then you have to take that all the way through the rest of the fucking carnival stage.
Can you just pick it up with E or whatever?
Yeah,
All right.
but obviously that means you can't shoot.
Yeah, but
whatever.
then you've got 3 other dudes to...
Yeah, but you're playing fucking Left 4 Dead 2,
Yeah,
where
that's
you
true.
need a lot of guns.
And by the time you've got the gnome out, they've probably been left far behind.
Well,
playing
assuming you're not like everyone's going for that.
Yeah.
I think you probably have to tell them.
I wonder if I wonder if you would everyone get the Chivo if you manage it as a team, or does like the guy who carried it get it?
No, I expect you'll all get it, because I don't know if it would detect...
Well,
you could share the load, presumably.
Yeah.
Well, to get it there, but it might count if it's like the person who's literally holding it when you get into the chopper or whatever.
Maybe, yeah.
That would suck.
suck.
So I don't think they would do that.
No.
Then again, some of the other achievements are kind of sucky in Left 4 Dead like that anyway. Like, be the guy who gets sacrificed or whatever.
Well, you only had to play that 4 times.
Yeah, but then you'd have to play it 4 times with the gnome challenge as well.
No. I mean, well, no, assuming it works like that, you mean? Because the sacrifice one, you only have to play that 4 times, and it's one of the shorter chapters. I mean, if you have 4 friends that you're going through with to get the achievement for everyone.
Yeah.
Or actually, I don't know, because could you do it if you, like... Does that achievement only pop right at the end, or does it pop... Oh, I suppose it does only pop right at the end. Because I say, like, maybe you could jump off and then fail, and then just have someone else jump off the next time.
Yeah.
But I think it only happens when you actually trigger the end sequence,
Yeah.
right? When you hit the generator. But that's not so bad. That's a shortish bit of Left 4 Dead, I guess.
Bill!
The carnival is quite a fucking long segment to carry a fucking gnome through.
Bill's here! We still need to play Left 4 Dead 2 somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah, probably do. I should install
We're going to
that.
say this every podcast now.
We need another guy. We need Rick to download it.
As we always say, we need a 4th person.
And then we'll have Left 4 Dead.
I'm grabbing peels.
Good for you.
Chocolate helicopter. That was the best mod.
What's that?
There's that stupid thing in the intro where Coach is running up the stairs and because he's fat, he's like, ah, and then Nick is like, come on Coach, maybe the helicopters are made of chocolate or whatever. So, and then someone made a mod where it just reskins all the helicopters in the game to look like they're made of chocolate.
That's awesome. Coach always gets there first.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
But then you'll be eating your ride.
I clearly have to play as Nick.
Apparently. Well, I think we said that at the time.
Yeah.
I play as Coach.
Who do you play as, Ellis?
Yeah, I guess.
Because I'm grabbing
Don't get to
deals.
be the woman.
No
No one wants to be the woman.
Oh, yeah.
Especially level 10 2, she's terrible. She's easily the worst character.
Yeah. Black woman.
Yep.
Yeah. In a Depeche Mode t-shirt.
Yeah. That's Rick then.
Yeah, Rick will have to be the woman. I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's more like Ellis than you are in actual real life character, potentially.
Dumb.
No!
What, a redneck? I don't know.
More redneck.
I don't know if he counts as a redneck, even in a
No.
comparative way.
Maybe not.
He does live in a quite crappy house, maybe.
It's not a crappy house.
Oh, not the building, I meant... Like,
How he uses it.
yeah. Not the literal building, construction, engineering of the house, but like the contents.
Sure.
Because I'm sure trailers aren't actually that bad,
Probably quite nice.
but then you put a person in there with their shit.
So yeah.
They're literal shit.
And we've been
Chemical
playing
toilets.
anything else?
No. We
Street
played
Fighter
some.
4?
Well, yeah, I guess I was going to perhaps like play that a little bit more thoroughly before I sort of talked about it too much. Kippers did very kindly get me a copy of Super Street Fighter 4
Kindly.
on Xbox, and it's still the hardest fucking thing ever. Possibly, well, I know I've said before that the original Street Fighter 4 is even harder than Super Street Fighter 4, but it's still pretty damn hard.
Mm.
It's I can beat arcade mode in very easy, and that to me is insulting. It's like it takes me to put it in very easy mode to be able to do it.
Oh well.
Properly hard.
Well, that's crazy fighting games for you.
I know. It's just like I don't quite understand why it has to be why the input mechanism has to be so difficult. Like the concept of a link in Street Fighter 4 is when you do a move, and then the moment that the animation move for that move is finished, you then put the next move in. Not before, because it won't activate then. Not after, because then the opponent has a window in which they can block. And it's like, and that timing is so precise that it's difficult to do. And
Well, I wouldn't have said it was weird or anything. It's
just
logical.
Yeah, but it's just so. Well, normally, like you know, you have the chaining concept as well, where in most fighting games you can insert the moves ahead of time, and it will do them regardless of timing. I suppose.
Well, to some extent.
Yeah,
it's not like certain games where you can input every combo and then just
No.
touch
Yeah.
the
I'm true, but to some extent, there is some timing involved, but they don't. And the combinations you type in don't necessarily mean they're a combo in the traditional unblockable sense. It's just that games like I'm sure Tekken and Soul Calibur do it to a degree where it will put the next move on if you mash something. If you put something in just before the next move ends, regardless of whether it's a proper chain or link or combo or whatever you want to call it in fighting terminology. It just seems unnecessarily hardcore. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's supposed Street Fighter is the hardest of the hardcore beat 'em ups. No stretch of the imagination is going to do that. I just don't understand why it needs to be quite so difficult.
Because everyone, if they didn't have a sort of a system in place, everyone would do it anyway. Like Smash Brothers, if you go into like the realm of dash cancelling and shit in Smash Brothers, as soon as you start counting frames, and you're automatically becoming hardcore. And they just cater that to that audience.
Yeah, it's weird because the depth in Smash Brothers is kind of unnecessary.
Well, it's because in Smash Brothers it was sort of an accident.
Yeah.
It's like people discovered all these weird like shield cancel dashing weird effects that you can do in Smash Brothers that weren't intentional, but then they had to keep them in Brawl between Brawl and Melee because otherwise people would have been pissed.
And a lot of them only really work if you're playing like one-on-one fights, I suppose.
Well,
where that kind of stuff matters. If you're playing it in like its intended super hilarious fun modes, 4-player, completely random like shit that we do all the time, none of that really matters.
No.
And it's like, but the thing that gets me about Street Fighter is, it is a fan. I do like the fighting engine behind it. It's pretty solid. There's not much you can sort of go, what the fuck at in it. It's hard and legitimately hard, but there's not much other than the AI's, classic. It's even in easy modes, instant ability sometimes to fire a move off, like without delay, if you make the slightest fuck up, like especially when you're playing against Ryu and Ken, like the slightest fuck up. Well, that's a Shoryuken moment. They're going to do it. Oh, I didn't even have to, that wind up was a lie. It's like they've done it before I've even said they're going to do it, It's like they know precisely when you fucked up. Like to the very frame, and it's like even in easy mode, and it's like that's it's supposed to be easy. You're supposed to be easing me into this game. It's like part of the word, and it's like, and they haven't done it. It's I just find it ridiculous. They need a proper training mode, and they need more content to sort of make you want to play it outside of the insanely hardcore world, because that is literally the only world it kind of really appeals to. Is the hardest of the hardcore will get a lot more out of this game than anyone else. I suppose not, but it has sold and it sells well. It's just.
It's not like Capcom don't have several other fighting games.
Well, no. The problem is I think it brings down other fighting games. I think it brings the quality of other fighting games down because they think they can get away with a Capcom level of shit.
Well, no, that's not. You can't blame Street Fighter for that. That's just Capcom in general.
Well, yeah, true, I guess. But even Marvel vs. Capcom is considerably more fun than.
Yeah, but it doesn't have any more options or content or training modes or anything like that.
Yeah, okay, generalization maybe, but it's not. That's a kind of a very picky thing to say. It's like Capcom. Yeah, okay, Street Fighter is Capcom fighters. Every Capcom fighter is based on Street Fighter. It's and Marvel vs. Capcom is just a slightly more accessible version of that, and a lot more insane. My problem is, as I say, that the lack of content and success that Capcom has seems to suggest that other fighting game people can just get away with that level of lack of content. Mortal Kombat definitely breaks that rule by having tons of great content. And Soul Calibur used to be that as well. But, Soul Calibur is kind of the walking example of this, where they moved towards no content because they think they can get away with it, and they can't.
Well, it's like they're basically the only people who have tried so far to do that, and then they're going to fail. So then everyone will learn. Yeah. I don't think it's exactly been like a rash of this going on. It's just Capcom.
Well, I don't know. It just feels like it's getting weaker. I mean, Smash Brothers, I suppose. Like, if you were to strip everything out of Smash Brothers other than the fighting engine. Admittedly, the lasting appeal for us has been in just the basic, brawl mode.
Yeah.
We haven't needed the rest, but you gotta say that it did add like 20 to 30 hours to its longevity out the starting gate by having all these things to explore, and through exploration you get better at the game, and it's like Mortal Kombat's challenge mode is great because it forces you to do things that you probably wouldn't do in your normal fighting regime because the challenge demands it. You lose your arms, you've got to use nothing but kick moves. And it's like, I've got to make sure my kick moves are up to scratch, or I can only use specials in this fight. I don't have any of my throws or normal punches or anything. I have to use the special moves, which changes the way you have to think about the game. And that shit is interesting. It's great. It's exactly what fighting games need, is that mix-up. And, I think it's crap when they don't do it. And in actual fact, I think Street Fighter would be a lot better if it just trained you properly.
Yeah, they just need to add a bit more for that.
Perhaps it doesn't even need extra content. It just needs to train you properly so you know what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
Rather than having to use YouTube videos and make you want to buy an arcade stick just to be able to do what the game demands.
Maybe it could even have a mentoring system like TF or something.
Oh, maybe.
I don't know how that would work.
Well, no, you just get trolled.
Yeah.
by misogynists.
Oh yeah, by bastards.
It's part of the community, man.
Apparently.
It's a way of fighting life.
No one would want to teach you how to play a fighting game like that, though.
No, it'd be really frustrating, wouldn't it?
Maybe, yeah, because it's like, if you think about the mentor system in TF2, the idea is you're basically watching someone play it.
Yeah, and that'd be really
And even if they're quite bad, that's still fairly entertaining. It's not like watching someone fail to input a button combo over and over and over.
That's true.
That's really, yeah. It's frustrating to do, let alone watch.
So, yes. Fighting games.
I'm going to play it a bit more, obviously.
You play Street Fighter Cross Tekken? Lulz.
Well, that might be like Marvel vs. Capcom, a tiny bit more accessible.
Possibly.
But
We shall see.
Yeah. I don't know why they have to make their move like so difficult to input as well. That's just the thing. It's like, I wouldn't mind so much if it had like, perhaps if the entire game was on like Marvel vs. Capcom simple mode, it might be more fun.
1 minute.
1 minute. But as it is, it's just too difficult to do what you want to do.
Indeed.
It's like, I know what I want to do, I just can't do it.
Damn it.
Damn you Shoryukens with your weird jiggle that sometimes get confused for a Hadouken.
So yes.
Double quarter circles my ass.
Double quarter circles.
Just have a trigger like Mortal Kombat does. It's like one button.
Oh, did you hear they're bringing a Jet Set Radio back to Explar? Whatever.
Yes, I think we talked about
Yes.
that.
Oh, have we?
Prior.
Okay, all done. Right.
News over!
Yeah, news over. Podcast over. Yes, thanks for joining us. Next time, more Mass Effect 3, I expect. Possibly something new from Zach.
No, if it's anything, it'll be the same things again. More Dwarf Fortress.
Oh, and I finished Sonic Generations.
And Sonic Generations.
Oh, did you? Holy
shit. We'll enjoy that next time. So, see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Podcast end.
Goodbye.
Anyway, yeah. But yeah. So, yeah.